Knuckle up, yo. I'm Sugar Ray Robinson, pound for pound the best. And you overprotected, never been in no real test. Mike Tyson eat your kids for lunch. I'm like Willie Pep, I could win a round without throwing a punch. Lennox Lewis had a glass jaw. If my grandmother hit him on the chin, he probably hit the floor. The Roto Duran, all-time greatest lightweight. Prince Nassim was whack, all the hype was fake. Leon Spinks was the ultimate slacker. Sugar Ray Leonard was great, but he should've lost to Hagler. The 70s had the best heavyweights. From Ali Frazier to George Foreman, there was so many greats. Bob Foster hit way too hard. He would've put Antonio Tarver and Roy Jones in the graveyard. Some of y'all might disagree, but Larry Holmes might have been the best, even better than Ali. Greatest Puerto Rican fighter, Carlos Ortiz. Runner-up Wilfredo Gomez in the early 80s. Worst Puerto Rican fighter is John Ruiz. Winky Wright beat Shane Mosley 2 times with ease. Bernard Whitaker was robbed so many different occasions. Mike McCallum represented hard for the Jamaicans. Costa Tune made Zab through the funky chicken. Years later, Ricky Hatton had Costa who quit, and I ran Barkley rep the BX. Christy Martin was the first popular fighter of the opposite sex. Galata punched Riddick Bowe repeatedly in the dick. Then when he fought Mike Tyson, he bitched out and quit. James Toney was a skilled technician. Jack Johnson beat white boys and fucked their women. Floyd Patterson got knocked out by Sonny Liston. Paulie Ayala always seemed to get the gift decision. Arturo Gatti take the best ass whipping. Jim Lampley and the rest of the HBO cheerleaders do the most ass kissing. They jerked Bernard Hopkins, ruined his 10-year reign. They stole his belts from him, gave him to Jermaine. Vasily Giroff nearly murdered Joe Macy. Joe Calzaghe annihilated Jeff Lacey. John Mugabe's nickname was the Beast. Corrales Castillo, the first fight was a masterpiece. Julian Jackson crushed Terry Norris. Mayorga knocked out Forrest. Ernst Hagler taught us what a war is. Trying to find the next heavyweight great. They thought it was Isaiah Bucci, but he went to jail for rape. Bob Abrams a weasel and Don King's evil. Floyd Mayweather's good, but he need to fight better people. We watched Oscar De La Hoya get rich. He nearly outpointed Felix Trinidad, but then he ran like a bitch. Barrera Morales, Julio Cesar Chavez. Mexican fighters was fucking up mad heads, and we never got to see the best. Salvador Sanchez, Ricardo Lopez retired undefeated. Larry Holmes beat Michael Spinks, but he got shitted. Manny Pacquiao speed is heated, believe it, you eat it. Oliver McCall smoked crack and had a nervous breakdown. Riddick Bowe knocked out Holyfield in the 8th round. Jake LaMotta had the best chin. When Mike Tyson beat Spinks, was his best win. They stopped 15-round fights after Duck Who Kim. The biggest disappointment was probably gold medalist Mark Breland. Emil Griffith was accused of hanging out with queers. Tony Ayala went to jail for 16 years. Michael Grant fought pitifully. Vito Antuofermo was a champ from Italy. Chris Bird beat Vitaly. Fernando Vargas' best win was Ike Corte, who fought the best competition, Juan Laporte. Levander Johnson killed in the ring, R.I.P. Tommy Morrison was diagnosed with HIV. First round, Ernie Shavers finished Kenny Norton. Michael Dokes and Tony Tucker was both Coke Snorton.
All right, guys, welcome to the Boxing Union. I'm your host, Joker Boxing. I'm with my other hosts, Stuart Little and eBoxing News. And yeah, man, let's go ahead and get into these hot topics right now. So thank you for tuning in. This is going to be our first show, so we're going to just kind of have fun with it. And we'll see where it goes, man. So, guys, what do y'all think about this whole David Haye drama, man? You guys are in the UK. David Haye is looking to come back out of retirement after that whole fiasco of pulling out of the Tyson Fury fight. For what it looks like to me, man, everybody is really upset with David Haye, man. He's been taking a lot of flack, and probably rightfully so. What is y'all's opinion on that, man? I'm going to start with Stuart, man. What do you think of this whole David Haye situation?
This guy's a disgrace to boxing. I mean, he's messed Tyson Fury around, basically wasted a year of his career. I mean, 100 grand of his own money in training camps. Americans have come over, you know, they're not going to come over for peanuts. So he did it to Manuel Charr. The man's a joke. He just thinks he can just turn up late to the party and expect to be the main man. It don't work like that. You've got to work your way up. You've got to earn a shot. And I'm glad Stavern has turned the shot down. I mean, I've heard that David Haye wants that title with Stavern, and Stavern said no chance. So I'm glad about that. I don't want David Haye anywhere near a title.
Well, I agree with that, man, because there's heavyweights out here, man, who are really actually trying hard, trying to earn their spotlight. And this guy, David Haye, has pretty much earned his spotlight by everything that he's done wrong. You know, that's pretty much why this guy's a celebrity. And I mean, I know he's accomplished a lot in the sport. He's a tremendous fighter. He's a great athlete. But it's just sad when you got these guys, some of these heavyweights who are out here grinding, who actually want to fight each other, want to fight for this belt. And this guy feels like he deserves to just skip the line, jump, get a title shot, and then what? Get the WBC and get back in the ring with Vladimir and run around the ring again and then show your toe at the end of the fight. We've already seen that. So we don't want to see him try to unify these titles. He had his chance and he failed. As far as I'm concerned, this guy doesn't deserve anything close to a title shot until he puts in some real work. He's got to go and fight some legitimate contenders. And this guy never wants to do it the hard way. It's always the easy way with David Haye. You know, if a fight's too hard, I'm going to make it a fake injury and pull out at the last second. You know, and it's always an excuse after, the excuse maker. So I'm just sick of it. And ultimately, the saddest thing about it is the guy is tremendously talented and could have been truly a great heavyweight. And he sold himself short. And, you know, people really can't stand the sight of this guy right now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, it's, you know, you can't do this to the people. You know, boxing is, you know, there's not a lot of money in boxing as it is. So when you're giving these fighters a chance to earn big money, you know, that could change your career, you know, change your life. And then David Haye just takes it away from you like a week before the fight, and then he does it again, and then he makes out that he's out of boxing forever with this terrible shoulder injury, and then he dramatically recovers, and you know he's calling for a title shot. I mean, with Stiverne. I mean, this guy, he's a clown. I mean, you can guarantee the next interview you do, he'll have a smile on his face, and Tyson Fury will be the last thing on his mind. I mean, I just can't stand this man anymore. I really can't.
Yeah, I hear you, man, and that's what most people. That's the way most people. Let's go ahead and shift now and talk about a fight that actually is coming up. Lucian Bute versus Pascal. E-boxing.
Yeah, I like this fight. I think it's a good fight. You know, Pascal is a good fighter. You know, the other guy is a good fighter too, Bute. I don't think he's the greatest fighter in the world. Actually, he's got a weak chin. We do know that. But this will be a good match of style. You know, there's something else that has to come on that we have to think about. You know, like the power of Pascal. Has he still got it? I don't know if he's still got it, to be honest. You know, after the shoulder injury, he's had a lot of issues. But you know, yeah, we can talk about that till the dot comes on. I think it's a good fight. It's a 50-50 fight. Oh my fucking god, Stuart! Shut the fuck up. Right.
Yeah, dude, Stuart, what's going on, man? What's happening? You having a wrestling match in there? Yeah, man. So, go ahead, Ebon. What are you saying?
Yeah. Okay. No worries. Yeah. You know, I think it's a good fight. Like I said, I think it's a very good fight. It's a very 50-50 fight. Big Canadian battle. You know, even though neither of them are from Canada. So that's funny how that works out. But I think it's a great fight. It's something that's definitely worth a watch. What do you think about it, Joker?
Yeah, man, I think it's a great fight. I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, we got to see where Lucian Bute is at. I mean, last time we saw Lucian Bute, he was taking a vicious beat down from Carl Froch. I predicted Carl Froch to win that fight. And a lot of people at that time thought Lucian Bute was the goods, you know. And then after that fight, he went on to take a beat down from Dennis Gretchen after that fight, actually. So, Lucian Bute, man, right now it's kind of up in the air to see where he's at. But the thing is, Pascal hasn't really looked that great either. He hasn't really looked that great recently. So these guys are kind of at a crossroads, and it's going to be a very big fight. Stylistically, I see why people think that Pascal is all wrong for Bute. But I'm just not a huge believer in Pascal. I feel like he does so many things technically wrong. I feel like he's never conditioned enough for a fight because he relies so heavily on his athleticism. And his athleticism at this point seems like it might be fading a little bit in that division. So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys match up. I think it's a pretty nice matchup. I'm kind of leaning towards Lucian Bute at the moment just because I feel like he could potentially outbox Pascal. But I don't blame anybody for thinking Pascal is just going to steamroll Bute. I mean, I don't blame anybody for thinking that. Stuart, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of this fight. I really like Pascal. I mean, you know, had a great war with Carl Froch, and this guy's not afraid to get in a fight. You know, he's tough. He's got a good chin, and I think he's going to be too much for Bute. I mean, I just think Bute's broke. He's a broken man. Froch cracked him. And I just don't think he's going to be the same. I got a feeling it could be the same. It's like Carl Froch, where he just walks into a big shot. He's hurt. He freezes when he gets hurt, and then he'll be on the back foot, probably on the ropes, taking big shots from Pascal. I mean, a lot of people think Bute can outbox him, but he's quite a decent boxer as well. I mean, he's an underrated boxer, so I just think he's going to be too much for Bute.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, man. It's a hard one to call. It's a hard one to call because we don't know which one of these guys is at 100%. So it's going to be a very interesting fight. Obviously, while we're talking about these two Canadian fighters, there's Adonis Stevenson out there, man. Adonis Stevenson had a tremendous year. A lot of people thought he was the fighter of the year. Let's go through, man, and let's kind of talk about some things that happened in 2013, man. Who do you guys have as y'all's fighter of the year, man? eBoxing News, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I think it's Adonis Stevenson quite clearly. You know, he burst onto the scene, knocking out Chad Dawson. Brilliant knockout. I picked him to do that. Thought he would. Knocked him out. Never looked better than me from saying that. Never looked better. Moves on to fighting Tavoris Cloud, he's a game fighter, but I think he's severely overrated, to be honest. But it was still a good victory for Adonis Stevenson. And then he ended the year flattening Tony Bellew and pretty much making Bellew look really, really bad. I mean, Bellew was so scared in there. I've never been so embarrassed to be a Bellew fan, to be honest. You know, he's definitely fighter of the year for me. What do you think, Joker? Fighter, but I think he's severely overrated, to be honest.
Yeah, I would lean towards Adonis Stevenson. I think there's a lot of guys that you can mention. A guy in the chat actually mentioned Mikey Garcia, so shout out to him. That's a good mention. There's obviously Mikey Garcia out there. There's Mayweather. There's Timothy Bradley. A lot of people feel like Timothy Bradley had a pretty good year. And I definitely give Bradley a lot of credit for the Juan Manuel Marquez win, because Marquez was coming off of that vicious knockout over Pacquiao. And as far as I'm concerned, this was probably the strongest version of Marquez that we've seen. And this was a Marquez who was very focused. So for him to go in there and do what he did to Marquez, I give him tons of credit for that win. But yeah, I would lean towards Adonis Stevenson, because to me, the fighter of the year goes to the guy who's had the most quality wins and the guy who's been the most active. When Nonito Donaire got it, I mean, was he really beating that many quality opponents, or did he get it because he was being extremely active and he was running through that division and fighting multiple times per year? So sticking to that theme, I think Adonis Stevenson deserves it, you know. And I've heard people mention Sergey Kovalev. I'm about to kick it to Stuart. I know Stuart thinks Kovalev should be fighter of the year. But my only thing with Kovalev is, if you give Kovalev a ton of credit for the Nathan Cleverly win, then you should give Adonis Stevenson the same amount of credit for the Tony Bellew win. So that's why I lean towards Adonis Stevenson. He's just done a lot this year. Obviously, Chad Dawson, and Tavares Cloud as well. But Stuart, what do you think? Who is your fighter of the year and why?
Well, my fighter is Sergey Kovalev, and I'm getting a lot of stick for it. But the reason is because this guy was a nobody. No one knew who he was a year ago. The real hardcore fans did, but no one knew who he was. And he's just on the scene, and he's a killer. He's just, he's destroying people. He's knocking them out cold, and he's beat 2 world champions in 4 fights this year. So, for me, he's improved a lot. He's the most feared man, him and Golovkin, on the planet, the most feared fighters on the planet. So yeah, I've got to pick. It was a close call between Golovkin and Kovalev, but I'm gonna go with Sergey Kovalev as fighter of the year.
Well, you bring up Golovkin, man. I just feel like Golovkin this year, he's got to find a way to fight better names, man. He has to find a way to fight better names, bigger names, people who everyone knows who they are. Because the guys that he's fighting, man, he's taking on these fights, and I just feel like he's just not going to get credit for it, man. He's not going to get credit. And obviously the people who are in the know understand that this guy is being ducked. But to the people who are on the outside, they're going to be wondering, hey, why isn't this guy actually fighting anybody? Why aren't they putting him in there with a name? So hopefully get him in there with somebody who is willing to take the fight, put enough money down. HBO needs to step up to the plate, slap some money down for somebody to fight their guy. They're trying to build up Golovkin. So don't do this guy the disservice of having this guy fight Africans and Indians and Asians and who have no name. Let's get this guy in there with a guy who people actually know who they are. Put him in there with the Daniel Geals of the world. the Barkers, the Murrays, and let's see it. Let's see what this guy has, and because I think he is one of the most talented middleweights out there. But I just feel like at the end of the day, they're not doing this guy a justice by having him fight these guys. What do you think, E-Boxing?
Yeah, I think definitely, Golovkin is a very good fighter. I don't think he's done enough to be fighter of the year, but he's definitely a good fighter. I think definitely HBO have to put in some more money to Golovkin. They need to help it, bring him up. But the thing is, they're putting pennies out there for these good fighters to come and fight for. If you want like a Quill and that to come and fight, you're going to have to put down a lot more money.
Joker Boxing, is that you on the keyboard bashing away?
No, that's not me, man.
Okay, who is that? Can you just quieten that one down? It's a bit loud. Yeah, go on, Max. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just saying, HBO have got to put out the money, and once the money's out, I'm sure the big fights will come. Martin Murray is fighting for the interim title soon, so he's basically going to be the #1 contender sooner or later. And at that point, he's got nowhere to go, unfortunate place to be if you want that interim title. Sooner or later, you've got to fight Golovkin.
I mean, this is the problem with these sort of fighters. I mean, they're getting a lot of stick for not fighting anybody, but no one wants to fight them. I mean, would you want to fight these guys? I mean, these guys could end your career. I mean, they really could. They're that dangerous. So no one wants to fight them for little money, because you're not going to get big money to fight Kovalev and Golovkin. You're not. Stevenson did well to get 350 grand. I think he did well. He did well to get that. He did. So yeah, it's not a lot of money for a big risk, and that's the problem with fighting those guys. If I was a boxer, I'd be looking to go after Quillen or Stern. Definitely, I'd stay away from Golovkin. That's for sure.
Well, that's the problem, man. These guys have made it too easy to duck these guys, so they don't want to pay anybody to fight him. What I don't understand is, how was Andre Berto and all these other HBO hype machines of the past, how are they getting all this money to fight no names and being paid all of this money? And now HBO, they actually got a hold of some vicious fighters, some guys who were very exciting to watch. They actually have some talent, but they don't want to pay anybody the money. Now all of a sudden they want to get cheap, and they don't want to pay anybody any money. HBO, man, HBO being cheap this year is what lost them having, the highest paid athlete in the sport, which is Mayweather. I mean, if HBO could have stepped up to the plate, maybe they would have had a shot at negotiating and getting Mayweather. But at the end of the day, man, HBO has been incredibly cheap this year, and they've kind of dug a hole for themselves and for a lot of their fighters, man. And a lot of the guys on that HBO side are getting screwed. And I think we're going to see a big shift in 2014. And man, I think everybody is heading in that Showtime direction right now, because Showtime did an incredible job this year. So big shout out to Richard Schaefer and those guys, man, for handling their business and putting on some incredible fights, man. I mean, some sick fight cards, so definitely I feel like Showtime is definitely one network of the year for sure, without a question.
Yeah, well, yeah. But I've actually enjoyed some of the HBO fights. I've Showtime have on the bigger cards on paper with the bigger names. But if you look at quality of fights, then HBO have really had some really good fights this year. I mean, Bradley Provodnikov is probably fight of the year, most people's eyes. Then you had there's a list of good fights that we've seen this year from HBO. So, I mean, HBO don't seem to be signing any American fighters, and I think that's the problem. With a lot of Americans, that's why they got their nose put out a little bit with HBO, because they're signing all these Europeans and other fighters from China and places, and they don't seem to be interested in their own. So.
Well, that's a good point, man. But you're right. People aren't interested in watching those guys because at the end of the day, they don't really speak American. They're not very marketable outside the ring. So if HBO is going to be signing those guys, and hey, they're signing some talented guys. I mean, these guys, Lomachenko and Golovkin and all these guys that HBO has, Kovalev, they got some nice guys, but you got to be willing to put extra marketing in those guys, because those guys can't market themselves. They can't get on the radio and sit there and talk up a fight. They can't do that. They need the hype machine behind them. So what I'm saying is, now is the time for HBO to actually be putting some big dollars behind these guys, and now they want to be cheap all of a sudden. Well, that's why Showtime right now is killing them. That's just the way it is. So Anyway, guys, we're on the Boxing Union on Skype. If you want to call in, go ahead and add the Boxing Union. Feel free to call in, and we'll have you on, and we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. Talk about some good boxing. We got a caller who's going to be calling in a few minutes. An actual fighter who's going to be calling in, so we'll be talking to him. But yeah, you guys go ahead and feel free to call in, and we'll try to let you on. While we're talking about fighters and fights, what are some fights that you guys actually want to see this year, Stuart? What are some fights that you're looking forward to seeing? Stuart, you there?
Sorry, mate. I was cutting out. Go on. Can you say it again, please?
Stuart.
Yeah. Can you?
E-Boxing News, you there?
Yeah, I'm with it instead. Yeah, I like. I'm looking forward to Cotto versus Martinez. That's going to be one hell of a fight. That's a good fight. I like that fight. Other ones that obviously get to be for taking. The question is, do we have Mayweather Pacquiao? I don't know, but we'll see. The rumors are that it was supposed to be for September. Those rumors have been quashed. We will see. Time will tell. But also, like we said before, David Haye could be making a comeback. And even though we've all just slammed David Haye, let's be real, we're all going to watch him fight.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, we all hate David Haye, but we're all going to watch him fight because he's a very good fighter. I mean, you can't take that away from the guy. He's just a fool, and he's a waste of time. But ability-wise, then yeah, he's a great fighter.
Yeah, no doubt. E-Boxing News, go ahead and introduce the fighter that you got on the line, man.
Yeah, so right now we're joined with Umar Kemalainen. He is a Finnish boxer, undefeated fighter, making his comeback now. We're very happy for Umar to be here. Umar, how are you today, mate?
I'm fine. Thanks for having me, guys.
You're very welcome.
Hey, no doubt, man. We're glad to have you, man. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you.
So, yeah, man, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourselves, man. What's your record right now?
My current professional record stands for 5 fights, 5 wins, and two wins by stoppage. And I'm just about to enhance that record as soon as I get something sorted,
Nice,
and,
nice. That's cool, man.
Yeah. As for my amateur background, I boxed in the Finnish national team for a few years, and boxed in the world championships, and had a lot of international titles, and I boxed pretty much in the world elite level as an amateur for quite a while. Won the Finnish heavyweight championship, and won a lot of titles as an amateur.
Hey, cool, man. Much respect. And that's something that we're seeing in boxing. What do you think? What's your opinion on these guys like, Lomachenko and Rigondeaux? Because these guys have tremendous amateur backgrounds, and obviously you have a very good amateur background as well. So what is your opinion on the state of boxing right now with some of these great amateurs that are coming into the sport and taking it by storm?
Yeah, I mean, that's like a really good thing, because these are now we get legit champions. We don't get made up champions with padded professional records. We get guys in who already proven their ability in the amateur boxing. Although there is a corruption in amateur boxing as well, but like in amateurs, you gotta fight everybody. You can't duck and dodge nobody in amateur boxing, because you enter tournament and you're gonna have to fight the guy that they're gonna put in front of you, and you're gonna have to beat all the guys who they put in front of you in order to win that tournament. Which in professional boxing, they pick and choose opponents for you, and they can build it. And specifically here in Britain, it's really sad, and it doesn't do any favors for boxing, because they try to avoid every guy who opposes, a threat to their home crowd fighter, and they just built them, these huge records here, and market them as a great champions, which is really ridiculous. But although there are exceptions, like the current British welterweight champion, I forgot his name, Gavin something, from the kid from Birmingham.
Frankie
he
Gavin.
was an amateur world champion,
Frankie Gavin.
and now closing on the world top as a welterweight. He's a current.
You're on about Frankie Gavin?
That's the guy. Yeah, the southpaw kid from Birmingham.
Yeah.
He's the real deal, because he before he turned into the pro ranks, he proved that he's a world class fighter by winning the amateur world title. you know, and I think he's the only British fighter ever done that in history, as far as I know. So yeah, I mean, and also we got now like up and coming Anthony Joshua, you know, who was the Olympic gold medalist, you know, and these type of guys. So the boxing scene all in Britain is changing, but yeah, that's like a positive thing that, you know, the
Yeah,
good
let me
amateurs
ask you a question, man, because you brought up a really solid point. You brought up the fact that in professional boxing, matchmaking is so important. And in the amateurs, you basically have to fight who is in front of you. There's no dipping and dodging away from opponents like we're seeing today. So what do you think about that, man, with professional boxing, man? There's a lot of fights that we're not getting as fans. We were just talking about before you came on the fact that nobody wants to fight Gennady Golovkin. Everybody's ducking him. And obviously there's the Mayweather versus Pacquiao fight that hasn't happened yet. So what are your opinions on those situations?
Yeah, I honestly don't think anybody is yet, you know, avoiding Golovkin that much, to be honest. I think it's just the question that he doesn't generate the type of money to get the big name guys in the ring with him yet, you know what I mean? So, like, you know, I mean, the guy who fought last time, you know, he wasn't anything special, that guy, but he gave a bit of a test for Gennady, you know, in that fight. And, you know what I mean? So, and about did you ask about Pacquiao Mayweather fight?
Yeah. What's your opinion on that situation as to why that fight hasn't happened yet? What do you think?
That's exactly the same reason, because once the guys they climb up to that level, you know, there's it becomes a business, you know, that the money makes. I mean, it always, in professional boxing, the money always makes a lot of difference. But I mean, specifically on that level, that, you know what I mean, like there's this thing like Floyd Mayweather. I don't think boxing wise is avoiding Manny Pacquiao, but as a financial, you know, thing for him, he has to avoid Pacquiao, because it doesn't look good for Floyd, definitely. But you know, it's he says it clearly, like he doesn't want to work with Bob Arum, you know, and Pacquiao doesn't want to work with anyone else except Bob Arum.
Right.
So there's a conflict, you know, in there, and that's the thing that's stopping the fight happening, you know, because if Pacquiao would allow, you know, Golden Boy or Mayweather Promotions or any other promoter to promote the fight, I think the fight would happen, you know. But he's so tied up with Bob Arum, and I think that's the reason what's stopping the fight happening.
Okay, well, I'm gonna ask you one more question, then I'm gonna go ahead and kick it to the panel and see what they have for you. So once again, man, thanks for answering all these questions for us. My last question to you is, who is your favorite fighter out there right now? If you can name just a few guys that you watch, maybe guys that you emulate and you know, try to take from their styles. Who are the guys that if they're on TV, if they're fighting, you have to watch them?
Yeah, from the up and coming and the newest, one of my newest favorites is definitely the One Time. You know, the Keith Thurman is a brilliant guy. I really like his style. Yeah, because he puts it on to every single shot, and yet he boxes very technically. You know, so I like that. You know, I like, you know, guys who can punch you out, you know, with the one single shot, and but yet he has craft. You know. But he's still a cream, you know. He's from the up and coming, you know. From the guys, more seasoned guys, obviously Sergio Martinez, because he's a slick southpaw. I'm a slick southpaw, you know. But Sergio, obviously, I hope all the best for him, because I heard that his leg is in I read something that his leg is in a really, really bad mess right now. So remains to be seen that if he can return to boxing, you know, in full condition. I heard that the leg was really badly hurt, you know.
Yeah, and he definitely hasn't looked the same since he's been in the ring. So yeah, you bring up a good point with Sergio. I'm gonna go ahead and kick it to my co-host now, Stuart and eBoxing News, man. If you guys have a few quick questions for our guy here, and then we can go ahead and let him go. Stuart, you want to go ahead and ask him a question?
Yeah, I remember talking to you in the week, and you were saying that you believe that you're the best cruiserweight in England when you're 100% fit. I mean, so do you really believe with the right team and and obviously the right promoter and that, like that, you could obviously get them fights and win them?
Well, honestly, without shadow of a doubt, I don't even believe that any of the cruiserweights, when I'm fully fit, I don't believe any of the UK cruiserweights would go the distance with me. Just I don't see them, having that in them, that they would, survive, 12 round with me, if I'm fully trained, and get a few 2-3, tune-up fights. I'm pretty much ready to take all these guys. There's nothing special in cruiserweight division. Olaf Olabi is a great world class cruiserweight, but he's not really in the mix with the British cruiserweight. So that's why he's like left out of the calculations, because like he doesn't box in Britain, although he's a British. He doesn't, he doesn't have any interest on the domestic scene here in UK.
We've got some in the chat called Rob Harmer. He said he's Finnish and he wants to ask you if you have enough sinew to become a world champion. If I know what that means, I'm sure you will.
Yeah, it's pretty much, is the question, do you have enough guts to go all the way? But yeah, the thing is that, to be a world champion, it requires a lot of build-up, and boxing is full of this politics, and a lot of discrimination. Like if your media personality isn't like they don't think that it's suitable for to be marketed, in the mainstream media or in a wider scale boxing media. So it's not about the guys always. There's a lot of talented guy who could have been a world champion, and so for me to answer that, do I have the guts? Obviously as a fighter, I'm going to say yes, but it's in so many cases it's not the question of the fighter. What I mean? Like and at this point of my life, where I'm closing to 32, it will take sometimes to build myself in the position to get a world title shot. But my current goal is that if hopefully I get back into boxing and my medicals and licensing and training and stuff will be financially sorted, if I get to that position that I can start do this like full time now, then my goal will be, in the European top, to get a chance to fight for the European cruiserweight belt,
Yeah, so can I just stop you there a sec? Because I spoke to you in the week, and obviously someone in the chat wants to know about Cleverly and Bellew. I mean, you don't rate them, do you? I mean, you said that you think that Marco Huck is the best in the cruiserweight. You've sparred 100 rounds with Marco Huck, if I'm right, and you believe he's the best cruiserweight, and Bellew and Cleverly are average. I believe that's what you said. You stick by that?
Yeah, well, the thing is that I don't honestly like the Bellew and Cleverly. In all honesty, I don't think that they should be even mentioned in the same sentence with Marco Huck. Because Marco Huck is the #1 cruiserweight in the world, and Bellew and Cleverly, like they're domestic level cruiserweights. Then they're nowhere near world class. You gotta understand that. So I don't like if you ask me what do I think about Cleverly and Bellew, Nathan Cleverly was he was walking around a couple of years with the stolen world title belt, and so that doesn't make him a world-class boxer, I mean, logically, if you think about it, and what you see from the guy, who did he, they gave him the belt that they stripped from Jürgen Brähmer in a light heavyweight division, gave it to Nathan Cleverly, you know, gifted it without a fight, you know, and he defended it against the nobodies. Immediately when he had to step up against a world-class fighter, he didn't want to be there. You could clearly see that he didn't want to be there with the guy Kovalev, you know, the Russian crusher. He didn't want to be there, you know. So, and as for the Liverpool guy, what's his name, Tony Bellew, yeah. I was really buying in before. I was really buying into the hype that he's a world class, but what I saw him fight against the Stevenson in his last fight, that no way, if he can't take a punch from a super middleweight, how on earth he's gonna, you know, mix it with the world class cruiserweights? No chance. I mean,
Right. Yeah, great point, man. Great points. Ebox News, man. You got any questions for your guy?
Yeah. Do you want to tell the people about some of the other fighters that you have sparred today?
well, yeah. Before I used to, you see, they used to pay me quite well. I used to go abroad, always traveled and sparred their fighters. I used to spar guy called Johnny Jensen in Denmark, Copenhagen. He was the cruiserweight intercontinental champion and European champion, and I pretty much, you know, bashed him up in all the sparrings we had, you know, together. And then I sparred Juan Pablo Hernandez for a few rounds in Sauerland camp when I was paid as a chief sparring partner for Marco Hook before. So yeah, those are the guys worth of mention. And also in Finland, I used to spar the middleweight European champion Amin Asikainen for quite a while. And yeah, those are the name guys I've been sparring. Of course, as an amateur, I boxed and sparred with a lot of guys, like even Robert Helenius, who was the heavyweight. We used to be in the same national team, and I used to spar with him, you know. And he's one of the best heavyweights in the world at the moment.
Wow, that's impressive. The last question I'm going to ask you, Umar, is do you miss fight night? Do you miss fighting in the ring?
Of course, because specifically, like in my case, when it was taken out from me like a few years back, you know, in such a way that, you know, you wouldn't wish it to anybody, basically, that, you know, obviously, you know, it's like I feel like I've lost a lot during these years because I wasn't given a chance to make a comeback anywhere, basically, after I started to recover from my injuries. And so yeah, of course, you know, I miss it quite a bit, you know, and I believe I still got a few good years left in me, because in trainings I'm really convincing still in the gym, you know. I mean, like, I do stuff really well and very convincingly, you know, like everybody who sees me training, they're very, very convinced, you know, from the British top, you know.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, so we're just going to say now, thank you, Umar, for coming on the show. We really enjoyed having you here. You've given us some great answers to some good questions. And we're just going to leave you here, and we'll bring you back in another show, okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks for having me, guys. It's always nice to have a chat about boxing, you know, obviously, because it's like my everyday life.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Umar. Thanks for coming on.
No problem.
Yeah, big thanks for the boxing union, man. You're always gonna have a platform here to get on here and talk boxing, and we appreciate you sharing that knowledge with us, my man.
Yeah, do you want to give your Twitter page and your Facebook and anything like that?
Yeah, anybody can you know, follow me on @UmarKemilan on Twitter if they want to, you know. And I'm happy to get back at everybody who tweets at me, you know.
Can we just ask you one more question for Jose in the chat, because you know we obviously know Jose. He wants to know: do you think it's important for you to conquer the American market?
Does he think that it's important as a boxing career wise to?
Well,
to conquer?
is it important for you? Is it important for you?
Well, that's the dream. I mean, like if the doors would open for the get fights in America, I would take it like without any hesitation straight away, because America has the biggest boxing audience in the world, and that's America is the basically the world's capital of boxing. Then yeah, definitely, like, is it important for me? Yeah, of course. If I get a promotional contract in America, then no doubt, of course.
Yeah, thank you for that then, Umar.
No problem.
All right, man. Best wishes, Umar. Take care, buddy.
Thanks. But
All right, guys. So that was Umar, man. That was really some great boxing knowledge. Obviously, man, it was really cool to me. What stood out is when he compared the amateurs to the pros, and he basically talked about how in the amateurs, these guys have to fight everyone that's put in front of them. You know what I mean? And in the pros, it's like there's the whole matchmaking game, and there's the game within the game in the pros. You know what I mean? So that was really cool for him to get in depth with that, man. And we really appreciate that. Rilo Jenkins, what's up, my man? How you doing? You got Rilo on?
We have got Rilo on. Rilo?
We should do anyway.
Rilo, you there?
I think he might have left the room. Might have gone and got a beer or something.
All right, cool. Yeah, what do you guys think? Go ahead and weigh in on everything Umar had to say, man. We're waiting for Rilo to get back on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've been speaking to Umar this week, and the problem is with Umar, he's a Finnish Muslim, come to England, and no one wants to give him a chance, and that's the problem. I mean, we're a very patriotic country in England, and if you don't fit in, then you can be held back. But obviously, we spoke about certain things, and I gave him a few contacts to speak to that I know. I'm not saying that's going to change his career or anything, but it can lead him in the right direction and hopefully give him a chance, because this guy obviously is going to have to start from the bottom again and build his way up, because he's been out for a long time. But I've seen his interviews. He's very confident. I mean, he was going to fight Bruce Scott, who was obviously has only ever been knocked out once by Enzo Maccarinelli. And this guy was quite high in the ranking. I'm not a great fighter, but it's still very dangerous. And he was going to fight Bruce Scott in his sixth fight, and he was confident he was going to get him out of there. So this guy's got a lot of confidence, but he's obviously 31 years old now. He's got to move along. It's obviously these days with the nutrition and everything and the right training, you can fight in your 40s, obviously. But he needs to move along now, because he's 31 years old and time's ticking.
Yeah, I've seen this guy on video, and this guy is a good fighter. I mean, he's got hand speed, he's got power, he's got it all. And you know what's even better? He's got the determination to succeed. The moment he gets his chance, Umar, I've got a feeling he will at least clean up the British level, minimum. You can see him going to the European level.
I mean, when he's a southpaw as well, and I've watched. Obviously, there's not a lot of him to see, but what I have seen of him, he's very good on his feet. I mean, and he gets in and out of range very good. You can tell he's got that amateur pedigree, and I think if you can get him in shape, obviously he's a bit out of shape at the moment, but if he can get in shape, then I really do think this kid's a good fighter, and I think he can beat a lot of the top guys in England. But obviously, we need to find that out. He needs to fight someone, and we'll take it from there. But I really like this kid's attitude. I like his hunger, and I really want to see him do well. So hopefully he can.
Yeah,
No
also,
doubt.
not just that, if you look at the domestic scene in the UK, the domestic scene in the UK is, it's at best domestic. It's not going anywhere else. And he's the type of guy who could come along and really clean up in that domestic division. And he could do big things. And even if he was unlucky to lose one or two fights, he could go through each one of the opponents, because he's a good fighter, and he could do some really good matches and make some really good money.
I mean, especially
no doubt, man.
Yeah. I mean, with Bellew and Cleverly now going up to that cruiserweight division, there's going to be a few British battles there. Obviously, Bellew's never going to be world level. We see that against Stevenson. I mean, it was an awful performance. I mean, let's be real. So he's at a level where European, British level, Commonwealth level. Cleverly, I'm not going to be too hard on Cleverly. I think Cleverly is a decent fighter. I just think you come up against a machine that hits so hard that You know, you can have all the game plan and all the game plans in the world, and as soon as this guy hits you, it's night. So I'm not going to be too tough on Cleverly because he's the only one that's actually walked out the ring standing, fighting Kovalev lately. So the rest are on stretchers. So you know, but as for Bellew, I believe Umar after a few fights getting in shape would give him a really good fight. I really do.
All right, well, let's go ahead and jump. Let's go ahead and pass it to a caller now. Let's see if our caller is back. Rilo, are you there? Looks like Rilo still isn't there, man. If you guys are listening in, especially you guys in the chat, man, go ahead and call in. Call in, add the Boxing Union on Skype. Feel free to call in, man, and jump on the panel, and we could definitely talk some boxing. Let's go ahead and shift to something else, man. Let's go ahead and shift to this whole Mayweather situation. Obviously, it's been reported that Amir Khan has signed his part of the deal. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see who Mayweather's actually going to fight next. I mean, people are saying that it might be Marcos Maidana. Obviously, there's the Pacquiao rumors out there. Who do you guys actually want to see him fight next, and who do you think he will fight next?
Well, I'll start off. You know, in a perfect world, I would love it to be Manny Pacquiao, but you know, we don't live in a perfect world. That's the first thing. I don't think Khan deserves it, but I think he's going to get it. Marcos Maidana, I don't think he deserves it, and I don't think he's going to get it. You know, if you always go more into why I don't think Maidana's good enough, I don't mind doing that. In fact, let's do that. Why not? Hey, so Maidana's coming off one good win against a hype job. So I don't think that really qualifies to go in with the best fighter in the world. You know, that there's been for like the last 10 years. So one good win, you know, is gonna all of a sudden justify him to be this, you know, great fighter who's gonna go on and destroy Mayweather. I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Don't forget, this is a guy who got beat by Amir Khan. He got beat by Devon Alexander, and Devon Alexander beat him up. Don't forget that. He beat him up. And he struggled badly, and I mean badly, against Eric Morales. And he also lost to Andre Kotelnik too. So,
well, he struggled against Ortiz as well, didn't he, to be fair?
Yeah, he got through he won the Ortiz.
He's got through a few of them. You got to give him credit for getting through them, but, you know, he's obviously there for the taking. I mean, there's
Okay, 4 years ago he beat Victor Ortiz. Okay, you know that was a good win from 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And now he's the Adrian Perona, and now people want to shove him in with Floyd Mayweather. No. I don't think so.
See, I agree with Conley in the chat. I mean, I want to see him fight Khan, and the only reason is because Amir Khan is not a flat-footed, one-dimensional fighter, and I'm sick of seeing Floyd fight these guys. You know, I want to see him fight someone that's going to bring something different to the table. Hand speed, foot speed. Granted, yeah, Khan he'll go in the pocket, stay there too long, and that's the worst thing you can do against a counter-puncher like Floyd. So I'm not saying Khan's going to win that fight, but I think he's going to give Floyd different dimensions, and I want to see how he copes with them. And obviously, I think Floyd Mayweather will win that fight, but I just want to see something different. And I like the Amir Khan fight. I mean, you know. Well, I really do.
Well, here's my problem with that, Stuart, and I'll let you go ahead and defend. I'll let you go ahead and rebuttal to this. But here's my problem with the Khan fight. Number one, we all know what the outcome is going to be to the Khan fight, okay? So Mayweather's going to go in there, like you said. Khan hangs in the pocket too long. He's eventually going to get knocked out. And if it's an easy fight, no one's going to give Floyd credit, and people are going to come back and complain and say it was a boring fight. You know, and that's what is probably going to happen, most likely. It's going to be pretty much an easy fight. Mayweather's going to win, and then everybody's going to complain and forget, well, you know, there was a lot of people who actually did want to see the fight, but everyone's going to complain about it, and then we're left with 3 more fights for Mayweather. You know, Mayweather has 4 fights left, and in my opinion, I want to see this guy tested. Let him leave without having any more questions in the sport of boxing. I mean, if this guy leaves and his career is incomplete because we're still saying, man, I wonder if Erislandy Lara could have beat Mayweather. I wonder if Pacquiao really could have beat Mayweather. To me, it's just going to be a very sad thing that we wasted fights like Amir Khan and the Victor Ortizes of the world and Marcos Maidana fighting Mayweather when we could actually see this guy get tested. So I think people need to be more vocal about how crap these fights are, in my opinion. But that's me. What do you think?
I mean, the boxing purists obviously want to see Lara v. Floyd, but, you know, as for casual people that like to see a fight, I mean, that's not a fight that's really going to sell, to be honest with you. I mean, style-wise, it's just got stinker written all over it. you know, 2 counter punches that hardly throw any punches, that fight on the back foot. I mean, I just can't see it being any sort of entertainment. You got to remember, these Americans are getting charged $80 a time for a fight. You can't just, you know, you can't just have a ball fest on. You know, you got to put value for money up. So I think that's why Khan's in there. And the big problem with Floyd is no matter who he beats, and if he don't fight Pacquiao, then it's going to be haunting him for the rest of his career and a legacy. Because we're going to be looking on when we're like 50s and 60s talking about Floyd Mayweather back in the day, and we're just going to say, oh well, he didn't fight that Pacquiao, he didn't fight him. We couldn't say that about Ali and people like that, you know, and Joe Louis. We couldn't say, but Floyd Mayweather's putting himself in that category. But he's ducked a lot of good fighters that are in their prime in his weight division. So, you know, let's not forget that. But obviously he's a very good fighter.
Well, that's what's going to come back to haunt Floyd. I agree with that, because I think years down the line, I mean, until that fight happens, it's a loss on Mayweather's resume and in the perception of the people out there. Because at the end of the day, the perception is that he's ducking Pacquiao. That's what the majority of the world believes, that he's the guy, he's the reason it isn't fighting. And in all fairness, judging by what he said in his interviews about the fact that he's not going to fight Pacquiao until Bob Arum gets out the way and all this other stuff, I mean, he kind of is the reason. So it's kind of just for people to say, hey, man, you're kind of the reason this fight isn't happening. So ultimately, it's definitely going to be a very bad reflection on Mayweather, and he's going to have to clear that up if he wants to be able to lie in his bed at the end of his career and not have to hear, you know, the ghost of Manny Pacquiao haunting him at night, you know, because that's what it kind of looks like it's going to be, man, at this point. E-boxing, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree and disagree with at some points. I mean, firstly, I want to see him fight Erislandy Lara. That'll be a good, well, it would be a good test. It wouldn't be a good fight. The other one I like would be Sergio Martinez. I think the winner of Cotto Martinez, that's the one. That should be, you know, that should be thought of as one of the fights. Other than that, you know, I'd draw the Khan over Maidana. You know, we've seen people like Mike try before. You know, Baldomir, all these other people. You know, we've seen him try it before and we've seen him fail before. At least, has he fought many people like Khan? Not that I can think of. I mean, at least Khan's never in a boring fight, win or lose.
I think, yeah, he hasn't fought anybody like Khan. I mean, I just can't think of anyone. I mean, even Mosley and Judo are not. They don't bring the same tools as Khan does. Obviously, they've got other attributes that are a lot better. But yeah, I don't think Floyd has fought someone like that. De La Hoya was probably the closest to Khan. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you know what, E-boxing, man, you brought up a good point when you said that, when you brought up Sergio Martinez. Because you know what's crazy, guys? I never really figured that it was a fair fight, Sergio Martinez between Floyd Mayweather. But now we see Miguel Cotto. Here's a guy who came from the same division Mayweather has come from, and he's willing to go all the way up to 160 and fight Sergio Martinez. So if he's willing to make that jump, why is it that there's an excuse that Mayweather can't go up there and fight Sergio Martinez? I mean, that excuse is kind of null and void if Miguel Cotto goes up there and does it. So to me, at the end of the day, this guy Mayweather hasn't really gone the route of trying to fight the big names out there who people want to see him fight. He really hasn't at the end of the day. It has to be said, man. So I give him credit for what he's done, the complete destruction of Canelo Alvarez. I give him full credit for that. But that's another indication as well. I mean, if you could fight Canelo Alvarez, who's a big guy, why can't you fight Sergio? You know what I mean? So a lot of these fights, there's really no excuse for why they didn't happen. And if we don't get fights like Pacquiao and the fights that we're trying to see, then ultimately, like I said, people are going to be left to speculate on whether Mayweather ducked these guys or not. And that's just going to be what it's going to be. That's on him. You know what I mean?
I don't want to add on to that. Yeah, you know, also Martinez has said time and time again that he's willing to drop down in weight to, you know, 154 to fight, you know, Floyd Mayweather. And he also said the same about Manny Pacquiao too. But neither of them have made any interest in fighting him.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. That's a very good point. That's true, man. Martinez at one point was trying to make it at 154, and all we were hearing is, oh, Martinez is too big, Martinez is too big. But you fought Canelo, and look how big Canelo was when he was in the ring. You know, and there was no problems there. So ultimately, it just kind of seems like to me, Mayweather's criteria just constantly changes and shifts for the right situations. 1 minute it's, well, I got to fight Robert Guerrero because he's my mandatory, so I need to fight Robert Guerrero.
Yeah.
But Now Manny Pacquiao's my mandatory. You know what? The belts don't really mean that much anymore. You know what I mean? You see what I'm saying, Stuart?
I know exactly what you're saying. He contradicts himself all the time. And this guy now, he's started to invent excuses. I'm sure he's got the Fight Hype admin team, just spending all day on thinking of excuses why he can duck Pacquiao, because it's just getting a joke now. I mean, it's been 5 years, even if more, and it's just one thing to left. Drugs first, steroids, then it was Bob Arum, then it's he doesn't deserve a shot, then it's something else, then it's just ridiculous. I mean, everyone's seen through Floyd. I mean, he's a laughing stock of the internet at the moment. He's actually took the heat off Adrian Broner. Adrian Broner must be sitting at home going, "Nice one for that one, Floyd. You got me out of that one." Because
that's what big brothers do, man. That's what big brothers do. That's what they're for, man. They take the heat off their little brother. That's what they do.
Yeah, well, he's definitely doing that because he's the one. He's the one with pictures of Rooster, with his head on a rooster and things like that. There's some funny pictures of him on the internet. So
yeah, he is. Hey, I tell you what, and if you guys who are listening, and if y'all don't believe us, you can go to the Boxing Union Facebook page and you can see the kind of pictures that fans are uploading of this guy, man. It's good stuff, like I said, Floyd has done this to himself. Stuart just brought up the fact that the excuses are ever changing. I mean, here's a guy who had the nerve to say, well, look at Pacquiao's last pay-per-view numbers. He only did 500,000 against Brandon Rios. So now he's bringing up the excuse of that pay-per-view numbers are the problem when Amir Khan, last I checked, has never been on pay-per-view. When has Amir Khan ever been on pay-per-view? When has Robert Guerrero and these guys ever been on pay-per-view? Somebody tell me. Someone let me know. I mean, the majority of his opponents have never been on pay-per-view. So how is it that he has a guy who's already a pay-per-view star and he's criticizing his pay-per-view numbers as the reason why the fight can't happen? That's what we're saying when we say that the reasons for this not happening are just ever changing.
Yeah, but that was bullshit because when Pacquiao was in his prime, him and Floyd were the biggest draws. I mean, probably still are. I mean, Pacquiao was doing great numbers. So what was his excuse then? It weren't numbers then. It was something else. So let's not take to what Floyd says because he's just full of shit. He's a great fighter. No, he is. He's a great fighter. I mean, I'm not going to doubt it. I don't like the guy. I think he's a bit of a tool, but he's a great fighter. But he's just scared of Manny Pacquiao. He won't admit it. I mean, anyone knows boxing can see that. He's scared of Manny Pacquiao. Simple as.
Here's another point. Just going back to the pay-per-view numbers. Floyd Mayweather is an American fighter, so he has a slight advantage over Pacquiao, who's foreign, doesn't he? I mean, that a foreign person's able to do 500,000 pay-per-view numbers
exactly.
in America. That's impressive. I don't think. Let's be real. Amir Khan could fight anybody else other than Mayweather, and he wouldn't make it. He wouldn't make it 100,000.
No.
He wouldn't make that. Look at Marquez and Bradley. They didn't make that. I don't think they made 500,000.
I mean, Sky. I mean, back in the day when Floyd was young and super featherweight. I mean, Sky were actually charging box office to watch Floyd in the UK. I mean, me and my mate used to chip in and do it and pay 15 quid and that lot. But to think you just could do that now. I mean, no one's going to pay 15 quid to watch Floyd Mayweather now. I mean, I feel sorry for the Americans. I mean, these guys are getting charged 80 quid. Or $80, sorry. I mean, ridiculous.
Nah, man, you know how much we're getting charged? We're getting charged live stream. That's how much we're getting charged. Absolutely nothing, because nobody is about to pay money to watch this guy fight Amir Khan or Marcos Maidana if they have any common sense. They're just not going to do it. So they're probably going to be live streaming that stuff, man, because that's just not going to do it for us, at least for me. But you know what, Mayweather, he's a great fighter. You're right, but it's just like I said, it's just too much of these excuses going on right now with him. And this guy, what people got to understand, Mayweather has his promotional hat on right now. Every other word he says is TMT Promotions and Floyd Mayweather, and he's just fully promoting himself and his promotional company. So what he's going to do is all of the tough tests out there, guys like Arislandi Lara, potentially even the Pacquiao fight, whoever are the tests out there that people want to see him fight, all he's going to say is he's going to come up with the biggest excuses in the book that he could come up with. His dog ate his homework, all that good stuff. And then for the guys like the Robert Guerreros and the Victor Ortizes and the Khans and the Maidanas, he's going to put his promotional hat on and hype these guys up. Oh, they're great young champions. They're tremendous fighters. Oh, look at their numbers. Look at the numbers that they're doing. He's going to try to sit there and hype them up. Khan is the international
Brook Bulls in.
I mean,
it's ridiculous.
but the thing is, we're in society now where Floyd Mayweather's worshipped. He's like some god. I mean, this guy behaves in a strange manner, an arrogant manner. He's got no care for money. He's got no care for his own people. But he's loved over there. I mean, the man can do no wrong. I mean, you go on a video and go and do a YouTube video and say something bad about Floyd Mayweather, and watch what happens. You know, the chat will be full of hate, trolls. I mean, you say anything bad about Floyd, and it's like you're saying something bad about their mother. I mean, it's ridiculous. This guy's worshipped. So no matter who he fights, he's going to get decent numbers over there.
Well, you say that, Stuart, but I've noticed that some of the biggest, Floyd supporters are starting to open their eyes now and be like,
I agree with that.
This ain't right. Why are you doing that? And they're starting to question things. They're starting to open their eyes. The shine's going away. Floyd is now starting to do some wrong because he's fighting, Amir Khan, and they don't like Amir Khan even more than they love Floyd.
Yeah, I think both of you guys make good points. I mean, there obviously still are the extremists who are always going to be extremists, like Stuart said, his devout worshipers. But I think a lot of people who were just fans, who weren't actually fanboys, they're actually coming along and realizing, you know what, as a boxing fan, I just want to see the good fights, and that's what it's about. Don't mistake everything that we're talking about as like we don't like Mayweather. I'm sure all three. I mean, I can speak for myself, but I'm sure everybody on this panel loves watching this guy fight. If you're a boxing fan, it's just the fact that we want to see the best fights. We want to see events. I mean, 2013 was a fantastic year, and all we want is a good 2014. And to me, for me to hear that Amir Khan versus Mayweather is potentially going to be happening May 3rd, that's not a great start to 2014, in my opinion. That's the start of a lot of BS that we're going to be seeing this year. So hopefully that doesn't happen, in my opinion.
The only thing that could make it worse would be Amir Khan first, Maidana second.
Yeah, and we'll see, man. But the thing is, like Stuart said, man, this is the age of social media, and guys like us and the people out there, they got to speak up and really talk about these fights that are happening. And let's try to make sure that we force the big fights into happening, because it has been done before. Movements have been made, and we have forced the fights that we want to see to happen. It's only when the fans start to get comfortable with these fights and they start to settle for these dumb fights that we start actually having to see it. So there has to be an uproar about these fights as soon as they get named. And I give everybody props, because everyone pretty much has been knocking the Khan fight, and that's why it might actually not happen. If it doesn't happen, it's going to be because of the uproar of a lot of great boxing fans out there. So big shout out to those people who've been talking about that. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on, man, to some other topics. Obviously, there's Manny Pacquiao potentially fighting Ruslan Provodnikov or Timothy Bradley. This is a good debate, because it's going to be interesting to see what people think is the easier fight and what's the smarter move for Manny Pacquiao to go in. So eBoxing News, what do you think? Which fight should Pacquiao go for? Should he go for the Ruslan fight, or should he go for the Bradley fight? I mean, Bradley does have the belt, I believe, but yeah, I think Bradley has the 147 belt and Ruslan has the 140 belt, if I'm right, for the WBO.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, which belt do you think he should go for? What do you think he should do?
I think he should fight Ruslan Provodnikov. I think that's a better style fight for him. I guess I think Freddie Roach said it's going to be an easy fight to make. He's happy to. I don't know what he's going to do. Not train one of them. I assume Provodnikov, and he said he's happy to make it happen. I think it's an easier fight for Pacquiao than the Bradley fight. I think Bradley obviously lost the first one. Well, I know he obviously lost the first one, but he didn't get, robbery. But, I think this time round, Bradley will be a harder target right now. It will be a bit harder, but I still think Pacquiao would win it. The Provodnikov fight, I think that'll be easier because the guy cuts up, he swells up, he's got those Soviet, facial features like the, high cheekbones and stuff. And those guys, they cut up bad. You could just have to look at the Bradley fight. He cut up in that fight. He was bruised up in the Alvarado fight. So I can see Pacquiao probably forcing a stoppage on cuts in that fight if that was to happen. It'll be a great fight. Don't get me wrong. It'll be a brilliant fight. But yeah, I think that'll be the easier fight. I think that'll be a lot easier. Bradley, on the other hand, like I said, I think he'll have learned from the first fight. He'll be sticking on the back foot totally throughout, and it'll be a hard fight for Pacquiao. But I still think Pacquiao would win. You understand?
Yeah, definitely good points. Definitely good points, man. Yeah, it looks like they're leaning towards Ruslan, but yeah, I guess we'll see what they do. Stuart, what do you think? Who do you think Manny Pacquiao should fight?
Well, he has got a lot of options, to be honest with you, with Bob Arum. I mean, he's running out of fighters, so I'd say Ruslan. I mean, that'd be a good fight. I mean, it could be a bad fight for both of them because we don't know how Manny Pacquiao really is because Brandon Rios brought 0 to the table. I mean, it was a shocking performance from Rios, and Pacquiao beat the shit out of him. But we don't know what that chin's like. I mean, it got really badly cracked against Marquez, and Ruslan's going to definitely test that. But obviously, Ruslan has showed that he can be schooled by someone with good foot speed, and so it's a tough one to call. But I really want to see the fight. I do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be a great fight, Ruslan versus Pacquiao. I think Ruslan, people don't give him enough credit, man. I think people don't really give Ruslan enough credit. I think he's a very good come forward fighter. Out of the guys who do come straight forward, this guy is one of the best with his ability to cut off the ring. He showed you against a guy who does have good foot movement. I'm not going to overrate the Mike Alvarado win because I never thought much of Mike Alvarado. Even when Rios beat Alvarado, I didn't give Rios a lot of credit for it. So I'm not going to give Ruslan a ton of credit for it. At the end of the day, like I said, who is Mike Alvarado for that to be anybody's best win? So
can I just point out for Robert Palmer in the chat, because he's obviously he's texting me on Skype. He's not happy that we are not giving Floyd credit and be a one-sided argument against Floyd. So is there anything you can add to that about obviously Golovkin, Martinez, Pacquiao? Have not done much to get the fights with Floyd. So, it's a two-way argument, he's saying. What's your view on that, Joker?
Well, I mean, wait, what's he asking? Is he saying that those guys haven't reached out enough to they haven't earned the fight against?
Yeah. He's saying that obviously we're giving Floyd a lot of shit, but obviously it works both ways, and we're not.
No, talking about people who've earned fights to fight Mayweather. My question to him is, what did Victor Ortiz do to earn the fight against Mayweather? The problem with Mayweather is this. This is the problem with him. Consistency. There's no legitimate criteria to earn a Mayweather fight, okay? The criteria to fight Mayweather for the past few years has been, if you beat Andre Berto, we will consider you to fight Mayweather. I mean, that's literally what it's been. I mean, come on now. Victor Ortiz beats Andre Berto. He's getting a shot. I mean, this has just gotten out of hand, man. It's just gotten kind of ridiculous as far as Mayweather's opponent selection. So there's better guys out there than Mayweather has chosen to fight at the end of the day. That's just the truth.
I mean, I'm going to stick up for Robert with one thing, and that is, Floyd did take the Canelo Alvarez fight, and that was a fight I was calling for. I mean, a lot of people, obviously Mark, I think, wasn't impressed with it. I think it was Mark who said that. And but I really wanted to see that fight. I thought Alvarez could bring some troubles to Floyd, but it was a shocking performance from Alvarez. He completely froze. I think the occasion got to him. He went in there, realised how good this guy was, and he fought the wrong tactics. He tried to counterpunch Floyd Mayweather, and he didn't let his hands go. He's beautiful to watch when he's throwing combinations, really fast with power, but he just, it was a poor performance, and I think that's set Canelo Alvarez back a little bit. I really do, because I think he's getting a lot of shit at the moment. No one's really picking him to win these big fights anymore. But this kid's a real talent. I just think he needs to go with Freddie Roach or someone who's going to teach him to come forward and throw his hands. Because right now, someone's told him he's a counter puncher with his shoulder roll and it's not Canelo Alvarez. It's not the Mexican way. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to stick on this Mayweather topic too much, as people are gonna say that this was the Mayweather show. But just to quickly say this. Mayweather, another issue that he has had is that, to me, what he's done at welterweight has left a lot to be desired. His best fights in his career, for the most part, have been at 154. When you count De La Hoya, and you count Canelo Alvarez, that's pretty much for the past 10 years, those have been his two biggest wins, and they're at 154. And when you go through what he's done at welterweight, there's Ricky Hatton, there's Zab Judah, there's Shane Mosley, who's a little bit past it, Robert Guerrero, Victor Ortiz. A Marquez, who was new to the weight class. I mean, you could kind of go on. You could kind of pick at that welterweight resume a little bit. And the thing is, he needs to pick a solid division. If he's going to fight at 154, that's great. We got Erislandy Lara there. We got some fighters there he can fight. So if he's gonna do that, he should stay there. If he's gonna fight at 147, okay, go ahead, fight Keith Thurman, fight Manny Pacquiao, fight Bradley, fight those guys who are on top of the division. Let's see the best fights that we could see. But I don't want to see when there's a convenient fight for me at 154, let me go take that guy because he's got a big name. Or let me come down to 147 when there's a convenient fight that's easy pickings. I mean, that's just what we don't want to see. But I don't want to dwell on this topic too much, man. So let's go ahead and move on from that and get back to this whole situation of Timothy Bradley and these guys, man. Bradley's in an interesting situation. What do you guys think Bradley should do? Do you guys think he should stay with Top Rank or should he go to Showtime? Because he obviously has 3 or 4 more fights, and then he's going to be making that big decision.
Well, I'll start off then. The question is, will he get there with his record intact? If he fights Pacquiao, that's a hard fight for him. A rematch with Marquez would be ideal because he can just do the same thing again. You know, a Provodnikov rematch wouldn't be bad. But what other fights are there out there for him? You know, he's not got loads of options. One of the options is Pacquiao, and I don't know. Do you guys think he could beat Pacquiao? I mean, like I said, I think it'll be a harder fight for him second time round, but I don't think he'll beat Pacquiao. He didn't beat him the first time round, and I thought he was out significantly. So is he going to get significantly better overnight? I don't know.
See, I actually think Tim Bradley deserves a break. I think he deserves an easy fight. I know people are going to go mad at me for that one, but this guy, he took a lot of punishment against Ruslan, you know, and then he got in there with Marquez and took some decent shots. Obviously, he schooled Marquez, but he did take some good shots, big shots in there. Showed decent chin, showed a heart. Pacquiao, you know, he obviously fucked his leg up, but he did take some shots in there with that one as well. You know, he did come out of there worse for wear. So, you know, he's a brave guy, Bradley. He don't duck anyone. You know, I'd like to see him. I'd like to put Brandon Rios in there and let him school him for 12 rounds. You know, I just don't want to see Timothy Bradley brain damaged by, you know, getting in there with Ruslan 3 times and Pacquiao 3 times and whoever else. And do you know what I mean? Bob Arum, he don't care about these fighters. He'll just keep putting them in there. So I'd like to see Bradley get an easy fight like Alvarado Rios or something like that. 147.
Well, the Pacquiao fight right now at this stage is a very interesting fight. I agree with what you got with what you know, Mark had to say about that. I don't think it's as easy as people are making it out to be for either guy. I think Pacquiao from that Rios fight, like you said, Stuart, we could only learn so much from the Rios fight because Rios didn't bring anything to the table at all. So we still have to see more from Pacquiao as far as if he still has that explosion. If he fights Bradley again, it might be a little bit more difficult this time for Pacquiao because Bradley's going to be on his game. His footwork right now is at an all-time high, judging on how he looked against Juan Manuel Marquez. So it's a 50-50 fight. But like eBoxing said, do we really believe that that Bob Arum is going to let Timothy Bradley leave Top Rank unscathed? Is he going to let him leave Top Rank undefeated and just run off to Golden Boy? I'm not sure about that. So that's why, you know, Bradley should definitely be precautious in taking that Pacquiao rematch. I don't know if it's the best thing for his career, to be honest with you. It's dangerous for him.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, me too.
All right, do we have Rilo on? Do we have Rilo back?
Rilo Jenkins here, baby. What's going on, fellas?
What's going on, Rilo?
You're
Hey,
right.
what's up, my man? We were trying to get you on earlier, man. We were looking for you.
Yeah. I was, you know, got tied up for a minute. But just to chime in on that Pacquiao thing, I think Bradley is in one of those peculiar situations where him losing won't be as bad as him not fighting. You know what I mean? Like him having a long inactivity streak is worse than him having a losing streak in a sense because he's still not a huge draw. He's more of a, you know what I'm saying? He's more known now than he was this time a year ago. But even him taking the L versus Pacquiao still sets up a good rubber match for him to make a ton of money or at least a lot more money. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's a good point.
I feel you know, Bob might want to get that rubber match at least if he's gonna, you know what I'm saying, jump ship. You know what I'm saying? But I believe, honestly, that Tim can beat him so convincingly that they couldn't rob him. I don't even think that the next fight would even be close. I know that sounds crazy, but I wasn't impressed with Pacquiao versus Rios at all.
No, I mean, Brandon
you know-
Rios was shocking. I mean, we can't really take anything into that fight because Rios
Right.
was just so bad. I mean, I just don't know what Pacquiao we've got at the moment. I mean, he showed good hand speed. He showed his punches from angles still, and he was just far too much for Rios.
You really can't. You still can't tell from that. It's
No,
like
exactly.
if you see a major league baseball hitter in a box and you see me pitching, of course he gonna knock everything out the park. If I'm pitching, so until he goes up against. I mean, and I just can't believe that Brandon Rios looked so bad in that fight. It
awful.
almost reminded me of the Joshua Clottey fight.
And then people want to give Garcia Trainer of the Year and that lot. For the Madonna performance. I mean, I just can't give him it for that because I look at the Brandon Rios performance and that was just terrible. And I just any man that comes up with a game plan like that, then I just can't give him Trainer of the Year.
Well, what aggravated me the most about it, like I knew going in that what was going to happen. I knew Pacquiao was going to destroy Rios, but I wanted to see if Rios could at least have some moments. And my thing is with Robert Garcia, you had 2 cracks at this man. I mean, how many cracks at this guy do you want, man? I mean, you as a trainer, as a guy who's a world-class trainer, and he is a world-class trainer, you mean to tell me you couldn't just sit down and come up with a game plan that would at least push Pacquiao a little bit, a Pacquiao who had just got off the canvas from Juan Manuel Marquez? Are you kidding me? I mean, that really pissed me off a lot, man, because Robert, he's better than that. And I just feel like he trains his brother, Mikey Garcia, a lot different than he trains guys like Nonito Donaire and Brandon Rios. I feel like he's really lax with those guys.
Yeah.
It's an atmosphere in the gym where everybody's joking around, everybody's kidding around, playing games. And it's just like, come on, man, you got to approach this a little bit more serious than the way that he took that fight. So I was just kind of disappointed in that.
And let's be real. Sorry, go on, Rilo.
No. Go ahead.
No, go on, mate. You're right. Go on.
But I'll chime in instead then, right? I won some good money on that fight because there was only one way it was ever going to go. It was only going to the points decision. Pacquiao's not knocked anyone out in ages. And the only thing Brandon Rios has ever shown in his career is he's a brilliant punching bag. The day he retires, they're gonna string him up and put him up and let the kids punch. That's what they're gonna do.
Poor guy, man. I mean, I don't like to give Brandon Rios obviously too much stick because he's a boxer. He's brave. He's got a good chin, and he puts his life on the line for our entertainment. So I'm not going to be too harsh on Brandon Rios, but he's dreadful. He really is. I mean, he's lucky he's with Bob Arum.
Hey, well, look, fellas, what about this? Now, he may have the same sort of syndrome that Adrian Broner had. When he was at 135 pounds, he was just so much bigger than the guys that he was fighting. He could absorb
That's it.
and beat the fuck out of those guys.
Spot on. And that's what he used to do.
Problem. And now when he's going up against bigger guys and he can't hit and hurt them the same way he did with guys at 135 pounds, he can't do anything else really. I think that's the same thing what happened with Broner. He never really showed me a lot of skills. He just overmatched the guys that he was fighting. And it just, he was able to take them out.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a really good point. And that's the thing, man. I feel like both of those guys, Broner, Rios, man, these guys need to hone their skills and work on that because, like you said, these guys were just using their size to go in there, bully guys, push them around. Because you bring up Broner, man, you're right. Broner, he was always getting hit a lot. So that was really never it. It was just the fact that at lower weight classes, the guy was so big. He just take those punches easy, absorb them, and really punish you. I mean, he was a beast at lightweight. And the same thing goes for Brandon Rios. He could take those punches really well. And one thing I will give Rios, because we obviously have been pretty much bashing this guy, and he deserves it. But I'll give him this. He did take Pacquiao's punches, and that's a testament to how good his chin is.
Yeah.
Because he moved up in weight, and he was taking punches from one of the hardest punchers at welterweight. Because Pacquiao, he could still crack. I mean, let's not forget he dropped Marquez a couple of times, too, in that fight. So I give Rios credit for that, for taking those punches. But at the end of the day, man, that's about all I give Rios credit for. He that's it, man. He just took those punches like a punching bag would. That's all he did.
Yeah, he took off a good punching bag, so that's what he's good at nowadays.
Poor Brandon.
Well, no doubt. Well, I'm gonna throw something to Rilo, man, because Rilo, you weren't on earlier, but we had a player who came on, our guy Umar, and he was talking about how in the amateurs, guys fight whoever is put in front of them, and in the pros, it has a lot to do with matchmaking and promoters, and there's so many more dimensions to how guys are made to look in the pros, and I know you're a guy who's touched on things like that before. So what's your take on that in the situation of today in boxing and how, matchmakers are kind of taking over the sport? Rilo, you there?
Oh man, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, man. Did you
Can
hear
you
my
hear me?
question? Yeah, I got you.
I got a weak
Did
signal.
you hear my question or you want me to
Hang
restate my
on, hang
question?
on. No,
All
you
right,
know
Rilo.
what? Let me get back to a good spot real quick. I'll get back.
All right, cool. Rilo's kind of breaking up a little bit. But yeah, like I said, while he's taking care of that, man, obviously that was a great call by Umar earlier, man. And that's the thing, man. Matchmaking has so much to do with what happens in boxing. And hopefully this year we actually get to see the best fights because I don't want to see a bunch of fights to where we know the outcome of the fights before they happen. That's not the mark of a good fight, man. I want the fights to where there's a huge buzz about what's going to happen. I mean, let's go ahead and talk about Carl Frost versus George Groves for a minute because you guys are from the UK. We got a lot of UK listeners tuning in. So let's talk about that fight, man, because the atmosphere of that fight was tremendous, and the fight itself lived up to all the hype, if not surpassed the hype. So, Stuart, man, what were your thoughts on Frost Groves, man? What did you think of that fight?
I loved it. I thought it was a great event. It's a great fight. I actually had George Groves winning I picked him to win it. I had him winning beforehand. I thought it'd be too much for Carl Froch, but Carl Froch has just got a tremendous chin. I mean, this guy, it's granite. It's going to take a monstrous punch to stop this guy. And George Groves took about 5 or 6 of them on the button in round 6. And this guy was still coming forward. I mean, say what you like about Carl Froch, he's probably one of the most delusional men on the planet. But he is a very tough character, a very tough man. And, I'm not going to give him too much stick. He got lucky. Howard Foster ruined the fight. He helped Carl Froch out because, for me, George Groves was well in the fight. He still had his legs about him. When a man's throwing combinations on you, and with big shots, you're going to be off balance sometimes, when you're covering the minute he got off balance, it was just like Howard Foster ready to dive in there and stop the fight. I mean, I still think there's something a bit fishy there, but I'm not too keen to see the rematch. I mean, I know a lot of people want to see it, but I want to see George Groves go another route, and I want to see Carl Froch go another route, obviously because I'm a fan of UK fighters, and I don't want to see our best fighters beating lumps out of each other. Do you know what I mean? Anymore. So I want to see Groves go and fight Sakio Bika and take that belt off him, which I believe he will. I think he's far too much for Sakio Bika. And I want to see Froch v Chavez Jr. in America. I mean, just the occasion, it'd be great, and that's what I want to see. I'm not too keen to see Froch Groves too, as a UK fan. Obviously, as a neutral, yeah, I'd love to see it, but...
Well, I tell you what, for me, I'm going to chime in on that. As a Carl Froch fan and as somebody who is in America, there's not going to be much people who really want to see that Chavez Jr. fight. So I don't think that fight between Froch and Chavez Jr. is worth anybody's money. We just saw Chavez Jr. basically get beat by Brian Vera. That's the last thing that we saw Chavez Jr. So I don't want to see Chavez Jr. fight anybody who's a top fighter in any division. I just don't want to see it. I mean, even the Sergio fight was kind of stupid in itself for even happening. So, but I understood why that obviously had to take place. But at the end of the day, man, I'm just not really trying to see Chavez Jr. anytime soon after his last performance. This guy could pretty much just sit in his bedroom, eat bowls of cereal, and smoke weed all day for all I care.
It's just It's just a big event. That's why in America, I think I'd like to see Froch go over there and in a big event, against.
It's not.
He's
really
a big draw, though. He's the biggest draw. I mean, him and Canelo. I think he's a bigger draw than Canelo. So I heard. Do you know what I mean? This guy's a massive draw in Mexico.
That fight, Carl Froch versus Chavez Jr. I don't think it's as big as a fight as people are trying to make that out to be. I think that's nowhere close to how big Carl Froch versus George Groves 2 would be, in my opinion. I don't think it's anywhere in the ballpark.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like I don't see them making Froch versus Chavez Jr. pay-per-view. I don't see that as a pay-per-view fight. So I just don't see like what's so big about that fight at all. And then everyone would know the outcome of it.
Yeah.
I don't know, but e-boxing news. What do you want to see from those guys, Froch and Groves, next?
Well, the obvious thing is I want to see the rematch. I mean, the whole thing, Carl Froch has nerve that he can come out and say anything like he did, like George Groves had his career saved by Howard Foster. No, more like Carl Froch, you had your career saved by Howard Foster. That's the truth. You got told what was going to happen in the press conference. George Groves said, I'm going to land 2 right hands. Not 1, 2 right hands. And Carl Froch made a joke with what? How many right hands? 2? Like that. And what did he come out and do? He landed 2 right hands, and one of them sank him like a sack of shit. And he got up, and I'll give him credit for it. He showed a good chin. He got up from a big punch, and he fought on. But throughout that fight, I thought Groves was well ahead. I thought that Groves was bashing him up totally, and he was even outboxing him in the quiet rounds. He was outboxing him too. He even wobbled Carl Froch with a jab. This is one of the most despicable stoppages by that snidey little snake Howard Foster. Cannot believe that. I went out and bought a George Groves t-shirt after that because I just felt so bad for him. I mean, George Groves, he told him what he's going to do. Even Eddie Hearn went, George Groves did that. George Groves did that. That's what you hear nowadays. George Groves did that. And he come out, and then now afterwards he's saying, oh, I'm not going to give him a rematch because he's acting like a kid. That's what he said. You're acting like a kid. You're the one who's got the nerve to say that George Groves had his career saved. George Groves wasn't even in that much trouble. He was fighting back. At no point in that fight was George Groves in any worse trouble than Carl Froch was in either round 1 or round 6. It's just a total joke. The whole thing smells. It was a fixed fight. They didn't want Groves to win it. And, at the end of the day, he should give him the rematch, but he won't. And that's the worst thing about boxing. Carl Froch is ducking George Groves.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of unfortunate, man. It kind of sucks that the outcome that we had to deal with, because what's crazy is it was a great fight. I mean, people are still talking about it. We're talking about it right now. People are still buzzing off of how great of a fight it was. And we didn't even get to see the championship rounds. I mean, imagine what would have happened if that fight would have continued. Somebody was going to get knocked out, and it was going to be either Froch or what it was going to be Groves. It was going to be one of those guys, and it was going to end in a stoppage. And we didn't even get to see the round finished. I mean, goodness gracious, man. At least give the guy in that situation maybe a standing 8 count. I mean, something. But this guy, Foster, just jumps in, stops the fight. And, obviously it was a rough day to be a boxing fan to have to deal with that stoppage, man.
Or wait to see if he takes a knee. Because he could have took a knee if he was hurt. But he was fighting back. He was off balance. He staggered it. But, the referee, he was looking for the first sign of distress from Groves so he could save his boy Froch. That's what it was. That's what was going on. I think Eddie Hearn must have said to him, you know who's going to win this fight, right? And he said, yeah. That's how I reckon it went down. He must have just told him, you know who's going to win the fight, because he was biased throughout. He left Froch rabbit punch, foul constantly. The whole performance by Howard Foster sucked. And you know what happened? Nothing. Howard Foster was refereeing a fight the next week.
Well, yeah, I'm not gonna. Here's the thing, though. Like, I understand the situation, obviously, but I feel like George Groves here, I don't want to knock Groves too much because obviously he had a tremendous fight, but he showed his inexperience in that fight too. I know a lot of people are knocking Carl Froch, but Groves showed his inexperience in this fight. Number one, you drop a guy in the first round and you let him live that long. I mean, come on, man. You got to jump on there. You got to try to finish him. And yeah, Froch was being very dirty throughout the fight. I agree with that as well. But yeah, I mean, Groves should have tried to finish Froch at a couple of points in that fight. And also in that last round, I think Groves kind of started to gas, and that's kind of inexperience to start gassing in those championship rounds. I think he started to get a little bit tired, and I think he's got to learn moving forward. Number one, take a knee if you got to take a knee, and number two, just for these type of fights, when you're fighting an athlete like Carl Froch, because the guy is a great athlete, great stamina, you got to come in there 100%, man. It's not the time in the championship rounds to be starting to get tired. And the guy did start getting tired. But obviously, that being said, we were robbed of the moment, and we didn't get to see what actually would have happened, of course. So, You know, that's what sucks about it.
Hey,
Yeah.
Joker. One of these
Yeah, what's up,
days,
Riley?
no,
You
not
back?
right now. Yeah. I had to get to a good spot. We have to discuss the word experience, and go into depth in that because I just heard you use that a few times. So just keep that in mind moving forward because I want to discuss that a little further coming soon.
Hey, we can do that now, man.
Okay. Oh, okay. Because I think, and not disagreeing with what you said, but I think
Mhm.
that experience is an overrated term because
Okay.
there aren't many times when you say that a dude's experience helped or his lack of experience was the reason that he lost. For instance, at what point in time does a guy's experience help him? I mean, like, what? Give me an example of when it helps.
Well, in that situation, if we're talking about Froch Groves, I would say the experience helped Froch because although he was knocked down in that fight and he was obviously going through a lot of adversity, Froch knows in his mind, hey, I've been here before. And in Froch's career, obviously, he's been there with guys like Jermaine Taylor. I mean, he knows for a fact. I mean, this is a guy who's definitely been knocked down and got off the canvas to come back and win. So he knows what that means. So having that experience, knowing that there's still a lot of boxing left in the fight, knowing that there's still the championship rounds, I think that definitely helped out Carl Froch a great bit because if he was inexperienced in that area, I mean, he could get knocked down and get flustered and not know what to do. We saw Victor Ortiz. He goes down in the Mayweather fight, and what does he do? Oh, I'm just going to go ahead and pack it in. So I think there's different situations, and I think that having experience, it's not to say that it's the end-all, be-all. Like, if you have experience, you're always going to win, or if you have experience, it gives you a huge edge. But it does give you somewhat of an edge if you could dig deep and reflect on experiences that you've been through and say, okay, I've done this before. And in
Okay,
the case of George Groves, he hasn't really been in those situations
right.
before.
I got you. But the thing I believe is some guys either have it or some guys don't. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like when you think across the board in all sports, you know where some guy he broke through and he just stayed at that level. When you think about football, you think about guys like Tom Brady or Peyton Manning and guys like that. So like when you say like Peyton Manning, when does his experience? This guy experienced everything in football. So did his experience help get him over the hump last year when he lost to the Ravens? Nah, his experience sucked. You know what I'm saying? When Tom
Yeah.
Brady had never really played in the fucking NFL and in 2000 he won the Super Bowl. Did his lack of experience hurt him when he got to the Super Bowl? You know what I mean? So I think that's you either have it or you don't, and if you don't have it, you never will. And if you have it, you'll always have it until your body
Why is it so
doesn't
quiet?
allow you to do things that you used to do. You know what I mean? So you got a guy like Roy Jones, had all the experience in the world. When his reflexes and things went away, the experience didn't help. It was just over with for him. Or a guy like
Mhm.
Floyd, who fought, Chinero Hernandez in his 17th fight, and his lack of experience didn't hurt him at all. You got like they're talking about Lomachenko fighting for a title in his first fight. Now, or his second fight, if he wins a title in his second fight, it won't be his experience that helped him. It'll be that he just had that it factor. So I think the it factor is perceived to be as experience. You know what I'm saying? You either have it or
Yeah,
you
yeah.
don't. If he gets in there with Orlando Salido and he loses, then you're gonna say, well, it's his lack of experience. Or if he gets in there and beats Orlando Salido, you can't say it was his experience, right? He just had it. He just had it. That's kind of it to it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you bring up a
So
good point too, because when you look at Rigondeaux, I mean, Rigondeaux only had not that many fights when he went there with Nonito Donaire. And you're right, based on the outcome of that fight, people would have said, okay, well, he had enough pro experience or he didn't. So that's a very good, solid point as far as experience goes. It's a really good point.
yeah, I think that I used to use experience as a factor in when I would pick a winner before, and then I learned that that's not really a factor because some guys just have it and some guys don't. I'm gonna tell you a guy who I think has it, Mikey Garcia. I think he just has it. So whenever he gets in a big fight, he'll be okay. I think he just has it, no matter who he's fighting. A guy like Adrian Broner, I never really thought that he had it because he never really showed it to me. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
when he fought Ponce de Leon, he was in trouble, and it was a close fight, and I didn't see him make adjustments and do better things to make the fight into his favor. So I know that when he would get into adversity at higher weight classes, it was going to be even tougher for him. I just never seen that it factor in him. Like you said, Rigondeaux, he's another guy. He just has that it factor. I thought Nonito Donaire had that it factor, and maybe
Oh,
he
we all
does.
did. I tell you what, we all did on
Maybe
that
he
one.
maybe he had an off night. Maybe when if him and Rigondeaux get in the ring again, it may be a little different. But I still would pick Rigondeaux to win that fight. But obviously his experience in the ring didn't help him a bit. You know what I'm saying? So that's just all I'm saying. I don't think that I take experience as big a factor as I used to, as I started to pay attention more to all sports overall.
Yeah, well, good points, my man. Very good points. I think we got another caller on the line. Ryan, what's up, man?
How's it going?
How you doing, man? What do you want to talk about today? What you got on your mind?
I don't know really, mate. I just seen the link before I joined in, to be honest.
So do you like boxing then, Ryan? Yeah, are you a boxing fan?
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
So who's your favourite fighter then?
Pacquiao.
Right. So let's talk Pacquiao then. Who should he
Yeah,
fight
who
next?
do you think is the next best fight for Pacquiao? Do you think he should fight Ruslan Provodnikov or Timothy Bradley? What do you think?
I don't know. 'Cause obviously, a lot of people think he beat Bradley. But I don't want to see him go back to Bradley. So I don't think he has anything to prove. Because I think he's already beat him. I know on paper that Bradley got the decision, but I think everyone knows he did beat him. So I'd rather go for what was his name again?
Ruslan Provodnikov.
Yeah,
Ruslan.
I don't want to make myself look like an idiot by trying to pronounce it.
I mean, we all struggled with that one at first.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have you got the mixer on in the background or something? Because there's an echo. Can you turn your chat down on the Mixler, the Boxing Union Mixler, please, Ryan? Because we're getting a bad feedback.
Is that better?
That's much better, thank you. Yeah, go on, carry on, Joker.
Well, yeah, man. So obviously you said that you would like to see him fight Ruslan Provodnikov. I think that's a pretty good fight. Still a little bit of a dangerous fight for Pacquiao, but the real fight that we all want to see, obviously, at this point, or at least that we've wanted to see since about 2007, is Mayweather and Pacquiao. Now that we got two fans on, we got Rilo and we got Ryan, I'm going to ask each of you guys, what are your opinions on why that fight hasn't happened, and do you think it will ever happen? So I'm going to start with Ryan, man. What do you think about that?
I don't think Mayweather wants it, to be honest. From what? I don't think he wants it.
No.
I don't know why, because I'm a big Pacquiao fan, and I think he probably would beat Pacquiao. But I don't know. I don't know. He just comes out of excuse after excuse. Like first of all, it was drug testing, and then it was, I'm never going to do business with Arum, whatever his name is. So if he was never going to do business with him anyway, why did he make a big deal about all these demands?
Well, this is it. I mean, he's inventing excuses, Ryan. I mean, that's the problem now. Before you can handle a couple of excuses. We've all took a couple of excuses in, but when a man just keeps coming out of one after another, so every time you cover that angle, he's got another excuse.
Yeah.
To stop it. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I'm a big Floyd fan, and like I said, I know Rob Palmer's been giving me some shit on Skype chat because I've been giving Floyd shit, but. I think Floyd Mayweather's the best fighter in the world. I really do, but I just think he's scared to fight Manny Pacquiao for some reason. I don't know what it is, because I believe Floyd could win that fight as well, but he just don't want that fight.
No.
Well, that's the thing, man. Like you said, it's just the excuses are just ever changing. And you brought up a point, Stuart, that at some point, early 2008, 2009, whatever the hell it was, those guys were actually negotiating for the fight. And who was Mayweather negotiating with? Obviously, he was negotiating with Bob Arum to make the fight happen at that point. So why at that point, if it was okay to negotiate with Bob Arum, has all of these years later finally become full circle, and all of a sudden it's, as long as Bob Arum is involved, I don't want the fight. Well, then why was this fight ever even on the negotiating table? It should have been dead from jump. You know, that makes no sense at all. So that's the problem with these Mayweather contradictions. The guy just constantly contradicts himself. I mean, I'd rather he just not talk about the fight, leave it alone, ignore it. But it's like whenever he brings it up, the dude's putting his foot in his mouth, and it's just a bad look. It's hard for even the most hardcore fan of Mayweather to defend it. And like you said, we all like watching this guy fight. Tremendous fighter, great athlete. We just want to see him stop making these excuses and just get in the ring and fight some quality opposition. Hell, if it's not going to be Pacquiao, fight somebody who's credible. Fight Arislani Lara or just somebody who's on top of their game at the welterweight division, in their prime and ready to go. Let's see it.
Hey, y'all. I got a small point for everybody. I don't know if this works for everybody, but I know this usually works for mine. Like when me and my girl, we get into it or whatever, and we argue or whatever. The thing that she hates the worst is when I ignore her. Like the easiest way for me to get her attention or to make her straighten up is to not argue with her, not say nothing. You know what I'm saying? For the most part, I'll just get up and leave. And that'll get the best reaction from her than anything else. Me raising my voice or trying to make a point or make her understand what the hell I'm saying. If I just ignore her completely, like just get in my ride and just be gone for some hours, you know what I'm saying? Come back 2, 3 in the morning. That's how I get the best reaction out of her. And I think that this guy that we're talking about, he's more like a broad than anything else. So the best way we can get a reaction out of him is to just treat him like her. You know what I'm saying? We have to treat that guy like her. And I think that we might start to get some reaction out of him.
I mean, sorry, go on, Mark, go on.
No, joke. Nah, Stuart, you go ahead, man. Go ahead.
I mean, the thing is, I mean, he's going to throw a belt in the bin to avoid Pacquiao. I mean, when you're throwing belts in the bin, I mean, you're running out of excuses. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. I just can't understand it. I mean, Floyd fought a big Canelo Alvarez, and he weren't scared to fight Canelo. But Pacquiao, a little guy, I mean, he's a lot smaller than Floyd as well, and he just seems to want no part of that fight. So, yeah, what's your point? What's your opinion, Joker?
Well, let's let E-Boxing go ahead and weigh in, man. You've been kind of quiet, Mark. You've been quiet over there. What do you think of all this, man? What's your thoughts on this whole Mayweather-Pac drama? Whose fault is it?
Yeah, I don't think there's any one person it's their fault. I mean, you know, I think Pacquiao didn't want it at first. He was happy making his money along the way. You know, after the Marquez, fight, the third one, Floyd was like, yeah, I'll take the fight now. Yeah, because there was a lot of weaknesses in Pacquiao's game, exposed. But after the Bradley fight, that was it. It was dead in the water. Now it's sort of back. I don't know why exactly it's back, just off the destruction of Brandon Rios. We just, before said is a human punching bag. But, now the fight's back on the table. Now Floyd don't want it for some reason, but we've got all these excuses. But, yeah, it's about 50-50. I'm not all to blame on Floyd today, but right now he don't want to fight. Before, Pacquiao didn't want to fight. They might as well just, go their separate ways or retire, I think.
Well, what's sad about it is that at the moment, that fight, Mayweather versus Pacquiao, is one of the best fights for Mayweather at welterweight. That's like the sad thing. I mean, at least before, maybe there were some other options that gave Mayweather the ability to sidestep Pacquiao for a little bit while there were some other options out there. Right now, we're sitting here having discussions about freaking Amir Khan and Marcos Maidana to fight Mayweather. I mean, just pause and think about that for a second. Think about this win over Adrian Broner. If anyone would have brought up Marcos Maidana versus Floyd Mayweather before Adrian Broner, you would have been the laughing stock of anywhere, man. And people would have just kicked you out. You know what I mean? Like, no one was trying to talk about Marcos Maidana versus Mayweather. That was ridiculous. And now this is what it's come to. So this guy's running out of opponents. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the point.
But look, I think at some point in time we have to almost take responsibility for ourselves for even paying this guy any attention still, because we all know what we want out of boxing, and if he's not going to give it to us, we should look to guys who are giving it to us and stop paying this guy so much attention. Because if we keep paying this guy attention, he's going to keep doing what he's doing. And he doesn't have a reason to make the fight if he's getting what he wants without giving what we want. That's just like any girl. If you go to any woman and you just keep buying her stuff and giving her money and all you want is a little, you know what I'm saying, a little piece of action, and she ain't giving it, but you keep giving. Why would she give it then? What's the point of her giving it up if she gonna keep getting what you giving her for not giving it up? So if we stop paying this guy any attention, then we might start to get some results out of him. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I know it's a big topic. It brings a lot of ratings. But at some point in time, we just got to ignore this guy and start paying attention to the guys who are trying to give us, as fight fans, what we want to see. You know, the Keith Thurmans and the Tim Bradleys of the world, you know, these guys don't get attention. And we keep talking about the same one punk-ass dude all the time for the fight that he won't make. How much sense does that make? You know what I'm saying? We got guys out here who calling out everybody. But we talk about the guy who won't fight the fight more than we talk about the guys who want to make the fight.
You got a good point there, Ryan. Like, you have got a good point, because we spend more time talking about a fight that's not going to happen than we do about fights that can. Do you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, definitely, man. That's something that we are going to talk about pretty soon. We're definitely going to talk about Keith one-time Thurman because he deserves that. That's right. But Paul, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm all right, man. Can you hear me?
There?
Yeah, we can hear you, Paul.
I hear you good. What's up, man? What do you want to talk about today? You want to jump in on these topics that we're talking about?
Yeah, I was just going to draw a line under Pacquiao Mayweather, to be honest. I'm going to say it now. I'm not even 100% sure that I even still want to see that fight, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think the horse is bolted. It's gone, man. The fight should have happened 3 or 4 years ago, when Pacquiao was on top of his game. He was smashing out Hatton, when he was beating up Cotto, and when Mayweather came back and outclassed Marquez, and then outclassed Mosley. That was the time to make the fight. If it's made now, kind of, I'd still watch it, and I'd still get excited for it. But you know, for me, it would just be a case of what if sort of thing. I'd watch it and think, you know what, this fight could have been so much better.
Yeah,
it would be like Lennox Lewis, Mike Tyson. Do you know what I mean? The fight happened, but it didn't happen when it was supposed to happen.
Exactly.
It happened when it was near irrelevant.
And it could be the biggest anticlimax if it did happen.
That's what I mean. Yeah, if it finally happens and the fight stinks, everyone will be like, "Oh, what was all that? What was all that hype for? We waited all these years for that, just to see Mayweather just outclass Pacquiao easily and pick him apart." Do you know what I mean? Which is what I think personally would happen.
Yeah, I do.
And you know what? That's part of it too. I think, to be honest, why the fight hasn't happened. Before we move on to the next subject, I think part of Mayweather's battle is with the expectations. I think Mayweather understands, from what he says in interviews to me, he understands that if this fight happens, the pressure is on him. The pressure is on him to go in there and beat Pacquiao. So if he goes in there and he struggles with Pacquiao in any way, or it doesn't look exactly the way how his fans or the majority of the people would have envisioned it, I think, you know, it would really hurt his stock. It would be like, man, you know, I mean, imagine if it was a close fight. People would scream at the top of their lungs, this fight should have happened before. Pacquiao would have won if he was in his prime, or you know what I mean, something like that. So that something that could have definitely happened. So
or if Mayweather wins easily. If Mayweather won easily, like he did against Canelo, everyone would just say, "Oh, that fight was a waste of time." Do you know what I mean? It was just what we get all so excited about. We should have realised that Mayweather was going to win easily. So. Yeah, I feel like I feel the horse is bolted. Mate, I'm sick to death of people just talking about it now and blame it one side or the other. You're either on Pacquiao's side or you're on Mayweather's side. Be here all night if you're just talking about it. Oh, Mayweather makes up excuses. Oh, Pacquiao doesn't deserve it. He's got to leave his promoter and all that first. I just forget about it. I agree with what Mark said earlier on. Go your separate ways. Stop yanking our chain. Do you know what I mean? Stop trying to get us interested in this fight. Stop talking it up. Stop mentioning it in interviews. Mayweather saying, "Oh, maybe I could fight Pacquiao, but this has got to happen first." And the save of Pacquiao. Stop talking like you think the Mayweather fight's going to happen. It's not going to happen. We know it's not going to happen. Shut up. Seriously, it's irrelevant now. Stop wasting our time.
I agree. I honestly do agree. I think with Floyd as well. I mean, it's like he's dangling a string in front of us, saying, "Yeah, here you go. I'll give you the fight," and then I'm taking it back. Do you know what I mean? It's one of them ones. It's just not going to happen, man. I don't think. Like,
that's what I mean. When Mayweather's doing that, dangling string and trying to get us excited for a fight we know is not going to happen. Like, F off. So was that go fight Amir Khan or something if that's what you're desperate to do. Go fight someone we care about. Not Amir Khan. I don't care about that. Go on.
And you know what else? I think that with this one, this particular matchup, because it's been brewing so long, there comes a certain level of like macho and machismo that would have to come with this fight. You know how the De La Hoya fight was such a letdown? Like, it was such a boring ass fight that when they talked about a rematch, people started to, like, hell no, nobody wants to see that shit again. So there's a certain amount of like machismo that would come with the expectations of this fight. And if that doesn't happen, it'll be that blame will be placed on not Pacquiao, but the other guy, because we've seen Pacquiao in fights where, he beat the crap out of somebody and you like, oh yeah, he's a warrior. It's not many times we've seen that out of the other guy. So if it is a big letdown fight, even if he wins convincingly in a kind of a stinker of a boxing match, it'll be a big letdown and his stock will drop some too. You know what I mean? So I think that you kind of have that factor. He may be able to outbox him, but outboxing Pacquiao in that fight won't really do much for him, if that makes sense.
Pacquiao beats him?
Huh?
What happens if Pacquiao beats Mayweather?
I mean, well, that's even worse. You know what I'm saying? That's even. See, it's just a certain level of machismo, I think, that comes with the expectations of this fight. Now, the way that Canelo got outboxed, I think it was okay for him to do that because it was like, Canelo's supposedly a bigger guy and all of this stuff. But with Pacquiao, there's a certain level of a macho type of a fight. You can't just have that I'm going to outbox this guy kind of a fight. You know what I'm saying? So if you mess around and have a stinker in that fight, your stock goes down anyway for a whole lot of people still, you're going to have a hardcore fans. Oh, he did. They're going to be all on his nuts anyway. But there's a certain level of machismo that comes with that fight that is a little more than just outboxing a guy, All
right, well, check this out. Since we're in the welterweight division, let's go ahead and talk about the guy who I said we are going to talk about for a little bit, Keith One-Time Thurman. Let's go ahead and talk about him real quick before we end up wrapping things up. Keith Thurman, man, who do you guys want to see him fight next? Because Keith Thurman has been very vocal, saying that he wants to fight Marcos Maidana.
Top dog.
At one point, he was calling out Mayweather. At one point, I mean, he's called out damn near everybody. So, Rilo, I'll start with you since he's your guy, man. Real quick, who do you want to see Keith Thurman fight next?
Hell yeah. Yes, I'm glad you started with me. Listen, man. Keith Thurman embodies everything that I love in a boxer. You know what I'm saying? His interviews are articulate. He's not like some clown saying a bunch of ridiculousness. You know what I mean? He gets in there, he shows his stuff. He gets in the ring, he has knockouts, he can box well. He's not afraid to answer questions and interviews and stuff like that. So I actually, and y'all probably seen my videos. I would like to see him in there with Mayweather because I think that he has all the tools to beat Mayweather. I know that the thing about it, people say that he doesn't bring stuff to the table, but to me, it's kind of ridiculous because why does somebody need to bring something to the table if Mayweather gonna keep all the money anyway? You know what I mean? Like, that don't even make sense.
Exactly.
I got all the, if me and you go into business and you got all the equipment and everything that we need in this business, why do you need me? If you're going to keep all the money and stuff anyway, you know what I'm saying? So it's almost
and that's an interesting point too, because for some reason people sit there and act like Marcos Maidana and these guys are bringing so much to the table. I don't know what they're bringing to the table more than Thurman. At the end of the day, Thurman brings the most important thing to the table, and that's his two hands, because he could crack, and he's a great fighter, and that's what he's bringing to the table. He's bringing a fight to the table, and that's what we want to see Mayweather in. Let me go ahead and kick it to my
fight that might
real
be
quick.
competitive. A fight that might be competitive. You know what I'm saying? That's what he brings to the table. A fight that people in reality might think would be competitive, as opposed to just a name. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead.
Yeah, no doubt. Let me go ahead and get Stuart's opinion.
Sorry, I missed that. What was the question? I was doing something. What's the question?
Who do you want to see? Who do you want to see Keith Thurman in the ring with?
Oh, well, the list the list goes on. There's loads of fighters I'd like to see Keith Thurman with. I mean, I think Sean Porter would be a good fight. Obviously, Cal Brook's the big one I want to see him fight because I'm a big Cal Brook fan. I think that'd be a real good fight, but obviously a very dangerous fight for Cal Brook, and I can't see both promoters taking that fight. You know, in the day, Keith Thurman's a good fighter, but Cal Brook could easily get Thurman out of there. We've seen Keith Thurman getting hurt, so Cal Brook's a massive puncher. So, you know, it's a dangerous fight for both of them. That's obviously a fight I'd like to see down the line. But Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, Keith Thurman, Madonna even, I'd like to see that. I think Keith Thurman will take Madonna to school. I really do. Joker, we still got you there? I think.
All right. Let's go around the table.
I think. Yeah. Hang on a second. I think we've lost Joker boxing. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's move on to Paul then.
Okay.
Paul, what do you think about Keith Thurman fight next?
Oh, well, as Stuart just said, there's an endless list, isn't there? There's Kell Brook, but, you know, Keith Thurman's not going over to Sheffield. Will Kell Brook come out to Sheffield? I don't know. There's a few others. There's Maidana, obviously. He's coming off a big win. Maybe Malignaggi, something like that. I've heard he called out Malignaggi before, and Malignaggi wanted nothing to do with him. But because Malignaggi's just got a win over Judah, and he looked pretty good against Broner, maybe that fight's sellable.
That's the fight. That's his next fight. That fight will happen next. There's obviously a bit of pass with him. I mean, I think they had a big row in the press conference, didn't they?
Yeah.
And Keith Thurman.
Yeah, they got beef.
Yeah. Don't duck me, son. You know, the old. That was great to listen to. I mean, them two had a good little argument in the press conference. And you know,
Who's that?
Paulie Malignaggi and Keith Thurman. They had a good. It's on YouTube, so you'll be able to catch it. I mean, it was quite entertaining. I mean, Paulie did school him, you know, because he's got a good mouth, any Paulie. But that's a fight that's going to happen. That's a fight that's definitely going to happen, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's next for Keith Thurman.
I'd much rather that than see him fight, I don't know, Zap Judah again. You know, Zap Judah getting another fight, and he doesn't deserve it.
Yeah.
Who's the other guy? I don't think they're going to put Adrian Broner anywhere near Keith Thurman. They'd be insane.
No, they would be. Because Keith Thurman's all wrong for him. I've said this before. I mean, if you know, it seems that foot speed is a problem for Broner.
Unless that Maidana fight means they've just lost all faith in Broner whatsoever.
Yeah.
And they just decide to feed him to the Lions.
Yeah. And thing is as well, when Thurman throws punches, he puts his whole body behind these shots. Every shot he throws is to take your head off. And I like that. And that's why he gets caught. That's why he's vulnerable. Because obviously, if you go to finish a fight, there's a chance you can get countered. You know.
Put it this way, man. If he fought Keith Thurman, you know, he wouldn't walk out and have rubbish thrown at him and walk out in shame. He'd go out in an ambulance. he'd go out in an ambulance, Adrian Broner, if he fought Keith Thurman. I'm trying to think who else is there. Here's one out of left field, if you like it. I know it's never going to happen, but let's have some fun. Can you imagine if he fought Frankie Gavin?
Well, yeah, that's a good fight. But the problem with Frankie Gavin, he's just got no support. He's got no backing, is he? He's not really a big name in the UK. He's very technical, very good fighter, very good amateur pedigree, but he's quite boring to watch. And I think the problem the problem with UK fans is. Sorry, go on.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, yeah, he's a very good fighter, but as you were saying, you know, his promoters kind of made a pig's ear of promoting Frank Warren.
Yeah, I mean,
you know.
Yeah, he has. I mean, with Frankie Gavin, like I said, he's a very talented fighter, but he's just boring to watch, and I just think he's hard to sell in the UK. I really do.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think the only thing Gavin really brings to the table, I think he's got a good ranking with the WBO because he's got one of these Mickey Mouse titles that Frank Warren gets for all his fighters.
Yeah.
Something like that. I think he's number 3 or number 4.
And
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think Keith Thurman's pretty high in those rankings as well. But apart from that,
Ryan,
Ryan, you there?
Yeah.
Who do you think Keith Thurman should face next?
I'd like to see him probably fight Brook.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to like fighting Kell Brook. Why would you like to see that fight?
Yeah, I don't like Kell Brook really, but I like to see him get tested by somebody.
Yeah. And that'd definitely be a test. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I think someone
Well,
needs
I
to turn their
think
mixer
Furman,
down.
to be honest. I think he'd take Furman apart, to be honest.
I mean, it's a very bold statement. I mean,
Yeah.
but you could be right because Cal Brook is a massive puncher at welterweight.
I just don't really impressed with Furman, really.
Oh, bold statement there, Ryan. I think he's a very talented fighter. I mean, he's a southpaw. I mean, he's got very good punching power. So,
Yeah, great footwork too.
yeah.
Plus, he's adaptable. When he realizes he's not going to get them out, by going to war, or maybe it's a bit too dangerous, he changes it up and starts to counterpunch on the back foot. I think he's quite good.
Yeah.
Maybe Sean
being an
Porter.
understatement.
It's all
Sean
opinions,
Porter.
I suppose.
So, Rilo Jenkins, what do you think?
Milo's already said, mate.
Sorry?
Yeah.
No, about Cal Brook and Keith Thurman fighting. What did you think about that fight?
I haven't seen much of Cal. You know what I mean? I just being over here, man. I caught like the Carson Jones fights on YouTube, but I just haven't seen much of Cal Brook, so I can't really give a real educated assessment of him. You know what I'm saying? But Keith, my man, I'm picking Keith over everybody in the division, so I think I would pick Keith to win that fight. But I don't have enough knowledge of Cal to So I'm surprised that nobody has Showtime or HBO hasn't tried to pick him up. As far as broadcasting any of his fights yet, because he's kind of a hot commodity. So why not put him on? Regardless of who he's fighting. Hell, everybody else get these showcase fights. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing some more Kell Brook, and I wouldn't mind seeing them guys get in the ring. I would love it. I would be excited about it.
Yeah, I think Kell Brook's most likely going to be facing Sean Porter next anyway. He's the mandatory now. That makes sense.
Yeah,
to go
that's.
for
I don't
Porter.
think that's till June though.
No, but that's a good fight though. Still,
It's a good fight, but I think they're going to want to fight in between that because I think Eddie Hearn said a couple of weeks ago that the mandatory won't be due till May or June or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So Porter's probably going to have a defense in between. And
Do you know something else
maybe we'll get
that
Carson Jones free in the meantime.
Okay, one at a time, please. Boys.
Yeah.
Go on, Bart.
Oh, me? Okay. Yeah, I mean, one thing I heard was Adrian Broner is going to he's looking for another shot at 147 welterweight. And one of the people who came up was Sean Porter. And if he can have a voluntary defense, what do you think about that fight?
Oh, if Adrian Broner walks straight back into a title fight off the back of that performance, that would be disgusting. Come on, how on earth does he deserve a world title fight?
We've seen worse, and we've seen worse.
We've seen worse, but it doesn't mean it's right or it's acceptable.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, absolutely.
What on earth does he? Why on earth does he deserve a title fight after just getting his face smashed in by what's his name, Maidana? Doesn't deserve a big fight. If anything, he should have a rematch at Maidana.
Yeah, but the thing is with champions, they usually get their rematch, don't they? Let's be real. If they're a big draw, they usually get the rematch. So.
Alexander's not a big draw.
No, I said that Broner is. I said if they are a big draw, then they usually do get the rematch if they lose their belts. There's usually contracts and everything in there. So.
Do you think the rematch is different?
Yeah. Maybe they should just do a tournament, man. With you got a bunch of undefeated guys. You know what I'm saying? You got Thurman, you got Sean Porter, you got. I know Floyd would never get into no joint like this, but you got Floyd.
That's where Joker takes. So yeah, Joker boxing.
4-man turn.
Yeah. What's up, man?
Sorry, Rilo, you was cutting out there. I thought you'd gone, but you came back. Joe, do you want to take over now that we've got you back?
Yeah, that's no problem. Hey, Rilo, go sort out your internet, man. Go sort out your internet. But yeah, I think Rilo definitely brought up a great point as far as maybe having a tournament because that Super 6 that they had in the super middleweight division was huge for us, man. We got to actually see who was the guy. People forget that going into the Super 6 tournament, no one really knew who the guy was. Some people thought Carl Frost was the guy at that point. Obviously, there was still Kessler out there. So at the time, I mean, you had Arthur Abraham. So we needed that tournament to clear the air. And I think the welterweight division has been needing that for a long time. For a long time. It's hard to say who the guy is. And that's why I said, in my opinion, if Timothy Bradley and Manny Pacquiao fight, the winner of that fight might just be the guy. You know, the guy who wins that fight, especially if it's Bradley. You know, I mean, because to me, it's just hard to say who the guy is right now at welterweight. And I know a lot of people want to automatically think it's Mayweather, but for what he's done at welterweight, it's hard for me to say. I can't say beating Robert Guerrero and Victor Ortiz makes you the guy at welterweight. You know, I'd sooner say that Floyd Mayweather is maybe the guy at 154. I'll give him that, you know, for what he did to Canelo.
No, you can't even give him that, man. You can't even give him that. But go ahead.
I give him that sooner than I give him the welterweight division. That's what I'm saying. So that's what it's just so unclear. That's why, like you said, we need tournaments. We need to find out who the real guy actually is. So we're not sitting here speculating and debating about it, but we actually know. Like in 168, we know it's Andre Ward. There's no questions about that.
Yeah.
And that's what we need.
Hell, look. Mayweather ain't even proved he's the best fighter at welterweight with Golden Boy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true, man. I hear you. We got Real Talk Boxing on the line. Real Talk, what's up?
What's going on? I'm just listening to you guys. Yeah, man. You know, he hasn't proven at 154, but it seems that he's more established at 154 simply because, you know, Canelo Alvarez is a more hyped fighter than Guerrero. So it would seem that he would be more of a 154-pound champion based on the Canelo fight. But, you know, we know Canelo hasn't fought, you know, any more competition than Guerrero has. I mean, if anything, maybe Guerrero fought better opposition at lightweight than Canelo has at 154 pounds, but that's two different weight classes. But you see where I'm going with this. I mean, you know, Mayweather hasn't been a real true champion in a weight class in probably in the last 10 years or more, over 10 years. So that's what we're looking.
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna actually kind of get off of Mayweather's back a little bit, and you bring up Canelo. I'm gonna get on his back because this guy has Erislandy Lara knocking on his door, and he refuses to go and actually answer the door, man. He's just gonna stand by the window and peep out of there and see who it is when he knows who's banging on his door. It's Erislandy Lara. Everyone wants to see this fight, and this guy Canelo has been ducking this guy for years, man. I mean, when is Golden Boy finally gonna step up and make this fight happen?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, man. A lot of times people get the wrong perceptions when you put out prediction videos. Like when I put out the prediction video of Mayweather versus Canelo, they get the sense that you're bigging up Canelo because you say Canelo has a chance or he has a good chance to do something against Floyd. Basically, you know, Floyd has been dominating different styles of fighters, and you know, you look at Canelo and stylistically, if Canelo was able to fight the way that he fights with more aggression, because to me, I think he's a little more systematic and a little bit more precise than Miguel Cotto even. But if he was able to do that, more of it, and put the pressure, I think he would definitely be a challenge for Floyd. But he gasses out and he fights at a that's comfortable for Floyd. He's got to be able to fight a little more aggressive. I like his style versus Floyd. It's just the pace that he fights at. It's not conducive to winning against Floyd. You know, so when people see those videos,
I hear you,
they're
man.
like,
I hear you, no doubt. Yeah, anybody else, man? Any fights that you guys are really looking forward to 2014 as we get ready to kind of start wrapping things up? We've definitely gone a good bit over, man, getting some good boxing talk in. I'm going to go ahead and kick it to Stuart. And Stuart, are there any like fights that you really want to see this year? What are you looking forward to?
Well, I think that the one on everyone's lips is Kovalev v. Stevenson. You know,
Nice.
Two big punches. Can be made because they were both with HBO. So there's no reason why that fight shouldn't happen. And I think that'd be a barnstormer for 3 or 4 rounds. And then I think Kovalev, obviously, I think Kovalev's going to win that. And I think he'll get Stevenson out of there. But it could be a barnstorm. But then again, Kovalev's so strong, he could knock Stevenson out in a round. So you just don't know. But that's the one I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, well, I really like that fight too. And what I like about that fight is out of all the fights that people want to see, that one seems like it's actually going to happen this year. So I actually really like that fight. And I think we will see that fight, and it's definitely going to be tough. E-Boxing News, what do you think? What are you looking forward to seeing this year?
Well, I do like the Kovalev-Stevenson fight, but I'm going to go for Cotto Martinez. That is my favorite fight of the year, if that is to come off. And obviously, you know, I'm going to go for Martinez all day in that fight. That's going to be a brilliant fight. We haven't really talked about that one, but yeah, you know, that's a good fight. What do you all think about Cotto versus Martinez?
Good fight.
Good one, Ryan. Thanks for someone.
It definitely is a good fight, man. It's gonna be a close fight because I mean the question is gonna be, you know, what condition is Sergio in right now? You know, what condition is he in, and how much has Miguel Cotto actually improved with Freddie Roach? Because obviously Delvin Rodriguez wasn't a big enough test for us to actually know what Cotto has done. And I'm gonna tell people with Cotto, man, because as a guy who loves Cotto, and I love me some Miguel Cotto, but I'm gonna tell you this: Cotto is a guy who you got to be careful with when you're watching him fight, because one minute he'll go in there and he will put on a tremendous performance, and his next fight you'll be like, where the hell is Cotto at? Who is this guy? This isn't Cotto, because we all watched Cotto go in there and give Mayweather his toughest fight in years, and then he goes in there against Austin Trout, and then, in my opinion, pretty much lays an egg. And I know it was a difficult fight because Austin Trout is a great fighter, great defensively, southpaw, so I know it's a hard fight. But that being said, Miguel Cotto definitely did not show up in that fight, so you never know with Miguel Cotto. So I know a lot of people are on that Cotto train, but I'm just saying, slow down a little bit.
I gotta agree with you because you know I think Cotto wins that fight in a rematch. I think he just dropped the ball against Trout. Honestly.
Yeah, he did, man. Yeah, he did. We were definitely expecting a lot more from Cotto than what he actually did in the ring. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see what's next for Miguel Cotto.
Joker,
man.
Can I just interrupt you a sec? Because I've obviously getting a lot of messages here. This guy obviously wants me to ask the European fans.
Go for it.
Hang on a sec. I need to find the message now. I've lost the bloody message. Hang on. Yeah, carry on. I'll get back to you.
All right, man. Well, yeah, Stuart's looking for that message. Paul and Ryan, what do you guys want to see in 2014? What are y'all's final thoughts, man, as we get ready to wrap up?
Go first, Ryan.
You probably are going to call me crazy, but I want Mayweather to fight Khan.
Really? Oh man.
Yeah. Why? I just really like Khan, and I just think it'd be interesting. I don't think he's going to go and actually blow Khan out. I don't think. Yeah, everyone thinks he's going to.
Yeah, I mean, that's like I said. That fight's going to happen. So you'll find out in May what's going to happen there.
Who's Laura promoted by? Who's the promoter?
Golden Boy, I thought. He's always on their cards. He's always on their cards, isn't he?
Who?
Yeah, he's his own promoter, and he works with
Golden Boy. Yeah, can I just ask this question quickly, so we can get it out of the way? It's from Robert Palmer, and he wants to ask. Obviously, this one would be for the European fans. Given that John Ryder was a much less experienced fighter going into the fight with Billy Joe Saunders, but only lost a close decision with a decent performance of fans feeling he won, do you believe he will go further than Billy Joe Saunders in the long run? And this is one definitely for Paul, Ryan, and E-Boxing News, and obviously myself. I mean, obviously Joker and the rest can come in if they want, but where would you go with that one, boys?
I'll start. Basically, I think they're both around the same level. I don't think either of them are going to, do massively better than the other guy. They're both European standard fighters. I don't see either of them challenging for world titles. European level. I think John Ryder can definitely come again, and he showed good deal in that fight. I think he was definitely in the fight, and Billy Joe Saunders showing a few weaknesses. I think Billy Joe Saunders had a hand injury, but I'm not taking that as a legitimate excuse as well. It was a good fight. I'd like to see a rematch actually, but other than that, I've seen both as European level fighters. I don't see either of them having the tools to do anything at the world level.
Yeah, I mean, I like Billy Joe Saunders. I really do. I think he's got a lot of talent. I just think he lacks punching power. And I think in the big fights, it's going to be a problem for him because he obviously isn't a true slickster. He's a very, very skilled technician. I mean, but he's not a slickster. He's not slick. You know, he can be it, and I just don't think he's got the tools to beat the top guys in that middleweight division. I mean, there's talk of him moving up to the superweight division. I mean, that's a terrible move for him because them guys are just far too big and strong for him. But as for going further than John Ryder, yeah, I think he's a better fighter than John Ryder. I really do.
Yeah.
Shall I go?
Yeah, go on, Paul.
I used to be a big fan of Billy Joe Saunders. You know, I used to really rate him. I think he could go far, but you know, his last couple of fights, I've kind of jumped off the train a little bit. He's not got power. It's obvious. You know, if he can't knock out guys at domestic level, what chance has he got when he steps up finally? So, and there's talk of him going up to super middleweight. You know, he's not got a prayer of doing anything at super middleweight. I'm sorry.
No, because can you imagine him fighting George Groves?
Yeah, that's what I mean. And even the division he's in now, middleweight's a division of sharks, isn't it?
Well, when
it's
you
not
think,
an easy division at all.
I think even Felix Stern would be a hard fight for him. You know.
Oh yeah.
I think he's the weakest one out of the champions.
To be honest,
him or Quillen.
Currently, I don't think Billy Joe Saunders beats anyone in the top 10.
No.
Currently. And John Ryder, I can't, to be fair, I can't really say too much about John Ryder because I think I've only watched him twice. I watched the Billy Joe Saunders fight, and I think I saw the fight before that when he knocked the guy out in 1 or 2 rounds. Yeah. So that's not much to go on.
Very good fighter. I mean, it's quite tricky, isn't he? But I just think he ran out of ideas against Billy Joe Saunders in the end. I think.
Yeah, I definitely think Billy Joe Saunders won the fight, but I think it was very, very close. I think a rematch would be best, but I can't see it because Billy Joe, I think has he won the British title outright now?
I think he has. Yeah. I mean,
either he's got one more fight to go, and he's not going to want it against.
It's time to move him on though. It's time. He's got to start being moved on.
I hope Billy Joe does well because I like Billy Joe, but if I had to bet my last penny on it, will he be world champion? Me honest answer is no, because I think the division he's in is just too strong, and he's not going to pray if he moves up.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think he's got it for the world title shot at all. No, he can't. I don't think he can win that. I mean, with what power? He's got no power. He's got good movement.
Who's he winning?
And he's got a good work rate.
Who's he winning off? What champion is there who he could beat? I don't think there's any. I think he'd lose to all of them, currently. Unless he somehow gets, Frank Warren somehow manages to get him to fight for the Aiken belt or something, where he just fights an absolute form.
Stern could be a possibility. He could beat him.
Maybe Stern, if Stern's still knocking around in a few years.
Yeah, it's just true. Yeah.
I don't know. Billy Joe Saunders, I like him, but I'm not quite. I don't believe in him quite as much as I used to. And John Ryder, he's a good fighter, but I don't know an awful lot about him, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I've only seen him a couple of times myself, but yeah, obviously we're getting to the end of the show. I mean, last thoughts now. We're gonna. So, who do you think will go further out of them two?
No, you said you wanted to know which fights I was looking forward to, or what fights I wanted to see. I'll just slip it in really quick.
Right.
Want me to mention it?
Well, I was going to hand it over to Joker because he's the host, obviously. So I was going to let him deal with final thoughts.
All right,
that sounds good. Paul, go ahead, man. What fights do you want to see this year? What are you looking forward to, my man?
One fight I'll slip in because it's not been mentioned much. And all right, it's not the biggest fight in the world, and a lot of people probably won't care. But one fight I'd really like to see again is Bellew Cleverly, too, because the first fight was good. I thought it was an absolute cracker. It was definitely one of the best British fights of that year. And a rematch, I think a rematch at cruiserweight especially could be really interesting, to be honest. Even if it's only at domestic level and it's a fight that doesn't mean anything, it's just a rubber match. I'd still like to see it. If they get it on again and it's in Liverpool, I'll definitely go see it.
That sounds good, man. It's a good suggestion. Let's see. Real talk. Did you say what you want to see for 2014? Any fights you're looking forward to? Real talk. We still got real talk.
Yeah,
real talk. All right, there we go.
Yeah, I'd like to see Floyd fight Arslan Lord. And or Canelo fight Erislandy Lara. That would be either one of them guys need to fight that man at 154. I mean, the guys, like I mean, I think that would be Floyd's toughest challenge in his career if he were able to defeat Erislandy Lara. I mean, I'm skeptical if he could even beat Lara, because that's stretching to it. I mean, you're stretching to a weight class that you really don't do too well, and I just don't think he's fought in the elite at 154 pounds. I don't see that. I don't see Canelo as the elite at 154. So I'd love to see him or Erislandy Lara, or maybe Canelo fights Erislandy Lara, and then I know that's reaching. It's not going to happen. I mean, I don't know why, and I mean, I guess just the fact that Lara's not a. We all want to think it's because he's a dangerous fighter, but maybe it's part to do with it. But then Lara's not as marketable. He's not an American fighter, so.
Yeah. I tell you what, that's a good point, man. I think Lara is the new boogeyman right now. And I think Canelo and Mayweather are both losing sleep thinking about Erislandy Lara. I'm telling you, man, he's the new boogeyman. That's the guy that nobody wants to fight. And what's sad is, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen now. What's sad is both of those guys, Canelo and Mayweather, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to sidestep Lara a little bit, and they're going to wait for Lara to take a loss so they don't have to fight him. Because at the end of the day, Lara's going to get some WBA belt, and then he's going to have to defend that, fight his mandatory, probably end up having to fight some hard, tough fights, and then they're just going to pretty much avoid the guy. So that's just going to end up happening. But,
Joker, can I just ask you one thing? Don't you think that fighters are going to use Lara's lack of fan base and lack of pulling power as a way to avoid him?
Yeah, I was going to say
That's it. That's what they're both going to do. That's what Canelo and Mayweather are both going to do to avoid it. They're going to say, who is Erislandy Lara? They're going to do the whole who is that, and they're just going to stay away from the guy. But Lara is a tremendous talent. At the end of the day, the real boxing fans know who Erislandy Lara is. And he beat my guy, Austin Trout. Austin Trout is my guy, and he beat him, man. He beat him soundly, and I give him tons of credit for that. So he's the new boogeyman, and we'll see what he does in 2014. Maybe we see some big fights between maybe a Lara and a Carlos Molina or something sick like that. That'd be nice to see, man. So I guess that's pretty much it, man. Does anybody have any more final thoughts?
Yo. I got one, man. You skipped me. I would love to see.
Yeah, go on, Ryan. Sorry.
I would love to see Deontay Wilder and Vladimir. I think that the reason that one of those, like a fight with Vladimir, or at least somebody beating Vladimir, is important is because if Vladimir retires without losing, I mean, because Vitaly already did, then it's going to be like this big jumbo mess again. So at least if somebody can beat Vladimir before he retires, he can be known as the man, and that's the guy that everybody has to come see. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's important for him to catch. I mean, because to me, even if you catch Vladimir on his way out and you lose to him, it's better than not having fought him at all. You know what I'm saying? Because
I agree.
You just got to take that chance. So I think Wilder and Vladimir is the fight that I want to see happen in 2014.
Yeah, I think Wilder needs a real body first, though, a live body.
Basically, someone with a pulse would be nice.
Yeah. I don't think many people, to be honest, are that interested in seeing Vladimir Klitschko just cuddle Wilder.
Dude, do you guys know how tall? I mean, the Wilder's like a little bit taller than Vladimir, right?
I think
about 6'7".
Yeah, I think Wilder's 6'6", 6'7", isn't he? He's a big guy, man. But he's got legs like. Have you seen his legs? When you see legs like that on a big guy like that, just something tells me he's gonna go over as soon as you cock him on the chin. Thomas Hearns had the same problem. Thomas Hearns was a fantastic fight, but he had these chicken legs, and he had a poor chin. Thomas Hearns.
Now, I don't see, dude. I mean, honestly, I can give Vladimir sort of the strategy and the strategic advantage because he has the experience. He knows how to muscle you, do certain things like that. But as far as the power, the speed, and the size, he doesn't have that advantage in this fight, guys. So if he's just gonna if he's gonna be able to out muscle, that would be his chance to beat Deontay Wilder, to out muscle him and then land a good punch. But I mean, we know if Vladimir gets hit with, clean. Yeah. I mean, by anybody with even not, a decent. This guy's got a serious punch. I'm gonna go on a limb here, and I already said it. Vladimir is getting knocked out if he fights that dude, just based on a breakdown of stylistic, just based on the breakdown.
But the problem is David Haye's got that power as well, and David Haye couldn't hit him all night.
Look what he did against Klitschko.
But he didn't have the size, man. That size gonna make a big difference. Just length and everything. You know what I'm saying? He ain't gonna be able to stay away and use his length, because his length won't be an advantage, and like he did against Povetkin, he just kept hugging the dude. He ain't gonna be able to do that with Deontay either, At least not without taking some good shots in the inside.
Vladimir's made a career out of using his size to his advantage, and I know a lot of guys say, well, he fought guys almost his size, but that length and everything like that, and it just against the guy that's actually bigger than him and has a reach and is, fights tall and everything like that. I mean, I know everybody's Vladimir fans and stuff, and it's hard to say, but it's just that's just my opinion. It could go,
I'm
anyway.
not a Vladimir fan.
I would bet
I think people give, they don't give Vladimir Klitschko enough credit for his boxing ability. They use his size and his reach and his range as a reason why he's winning these fights. This guy is a clever fighter. He's very talented, and obviously Manny Stewart taught him. What he knows. So
last fight,
he's very athletic for his size.
Exactly.
Stewart.
Go on, Trav.
That last fight, brother, as a boxing fan, to me was a disgrace to the sport of boxing.
I agree with you.
I agree.
Oh,
I agree.
I agree.
And I feel like he does that in situations that where he knows he doesn't have, the physical, the athletic ability to be able to, exchange, basically good coordination with a smaller guy. So he used these rough tactics because he can't get back in position fast enough.
He fights scared. He fights scared as well, Trav. I think he's a bit worried. He fights like he's worried about getting knocked out. Obviously, he's been dropped heavily a few times, and that's always in the back of your mind when you've been knocked out. And I think that's the problem. He fights scared, and I think when the fighter fights scared, they just get in. I mean, I don't know if any of you remember Lennox Lewis v Henry Okunwande. I mean, the fight, Henry Okunwande got disqualified for holding. That's how bad it was. I mean, and Klitschko was worse than that. So it was an awful performance. It was.
So think about how scared he would be with a 6'8" black dude tatted up, who's longer than he is, in the ring with him. He might look even worse. But see, the thing is, he won't be able to hold the way that he was against Povetkin, because Povetkin was so much shorter than he was. How he just kept leaning on the back of his neck.
I just think the problem is
you already know that much.
I think the problem is though, Riley. I think when Klitschko lands with that straight right, I just think it's night.
Well, see, the thing about it is, what's your evidence to say that when Deontay gets hit, he's gonna get knocked out?
I'll go on YouTube. He got dropped by Butterbean's nephew.
Oh, really? Man, he got knocked unconscious in the amateurs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was Butterbean's nephew, but he obviously looked like Butterbean. That's the shape he was in. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, Vladimir got KO by Corey Sanders.
Yeah, man. But Corey Sanders was a decent fighter in his day. Very tough man. He's no bum. I mean,
I'd say Wilder got knocked out by a fat guy. A fat guy who's paid a steak.
I don't know his name, so I'm just going to call him Butterbean's nephew.
Yeah, the one thing we know about Butterbean is he had power. You know what I'm saying?
Vladimir Klitschko has over 50 knockouts. So that tells you he's got power as well.
Well, Deontay Wilder only got 30 fights.
Yeah.
And he got 30 knockouts.
Yeah, but look at who he's fought. Come on, man. Come on.
Listen, I understand you, bro. I understand you. I think
Biggest
the
record.
unknown is the thing that intrigues me about this fight.
Yeah, and you also got to look at the two fighters, and they're the guy that you said knocked down Deontay Wilder. Was he a shorter fella?
No, he was just a big fat lump. He was obviously shorter. Yeah, he was a good foot shorter, but he obviously 3 foot wider.
You mentioned them, man. That tells you all
when
you
you fight
the guy who knocked him down. We don't even know his name. That tells you all we need to know about him. It wasn't like it was some respectable fighter. It was some journeyman they paid a steak dinner to. And he...
Well, look, we wouldn't know who Corey Sanders was if he didn't knock out Vladimir.
Yeah, but Corey Sanders was well known in the heavyweight boxing world. He was like a gatekeeper. Corey Sanders was.
All right, what about Layman Brewster? What about Layman Brewster? Tell me if it wasn't for his knockout of him, we would know Layman Brewster's name.
Layman Brewster wasn't knocked down by a fat guy on his way up.
No, I said Layman Brewster made his name off of knocking out Vladimir.
I know that, but Layman Brewster doesn't have the reputation Wilder does. Layman Brewster wasn't knocked out by a journeyman.
I understand. But Nate, give me another fighter that Layman Brewster beat. Tell me another guy that Layman Brewster beat.
Michael Sprott.
Tell me one guy he beat.
Michael
Don't
Sprott.
you agree that he's got to be able to knock out?
See, that's my whole point. So we saying that Deontay Wilder didn't really beat nobody. Did Layman Brewster, and he knocked out Vladimir. That's what I'm saying. He always a guy who got 30 knockouts in 30 fights definitely has a puncher's chance against Vladimir Klitschko.
Without doubt. If Wilder connects on Vladimir's chin on the button, it's over. But the problem is Vladimir is very smart. It's about your hair, and I don't think it's going to happen. I just don't.
That's why the fight is so intriguing to me. I believe that is because of the unknown. Because we really don't know much about Deontay Wilder, just like that experience factor that I was talking about earlier. We don't really know. You see him in that situation. So once he's in that situation, he might get in there and dominate Vladimir. You know what I'm saying? And you know, and we'd be all surprised. Or he might get in there and get knocked out, and then we'll know. You know what I'm saying? But if he has that X factor, it's only one way for us to know.
Oh, that's it. But I can't see that fight. Joker Boxing, I want to hear your opinion on this. I mean, you've kept quiet on this subject. And look, what you got to say about it?
Hey, man, I'm letting you guys talk, man. You guys are having fun talking about Butterbean and Vladimir. I was letting y'all at it. But hey, I tell you what, for me, the heavyweight to watch, Anthony Joshua. That's where I'm at.
Me too.
And Anthony Joshua, I'm riding with him. Deontay Wilder is a tremendous heavyweight. He's got to step up a little bit at this particular time. And I agree with something that Rilo said earlier. He said that he wants to see somebody actually beat Vladimir Klitschko, man. I don't want to see somebody just get the belt handed to him and these guys playing hot potato with the heavyweight belt. There needs to be a real heavyweight champion. So that's pretty much my thoughts on it. Before we close up, guys, I want to thank everybody for calling in, man. Thank you to Paul, Ryan, Rilo, and Real Talk Boxing. Big shout out to Umar for coming on the show. And thank you for everybody who's been listening at home to the Boxing Union. This is our first episode. So tune in every Mondays, 5 to 7 U.S. time, Eastern time, and 10 to 12 UK time. Any last words from Stuart and eBoxing News?
No, we're just going to leave you with the rapture by some Mexicans, obviously. Our goodbye tune, and we'll catch you next Monday, same time, and catch it on our podcast. I mean, we have to sort our download for that, but that'll be out in the next day or two. So look on Twitter for that. I mean, I'm sure most of you have got us on Twitter, otherwise we wouldn't be here. So yeah, see you guys next week. Got anything to add, Mark?
Yeah, just enjoy the Macarena now.
Yeah, guys, go ahead and follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter at the Boxing Union. And like us on Facebook at facebook.com/The Boxing Union. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.
Yo, I'm Sugar Ray Robinson, pound for pound the best. And you overprotected, never been in no real test. Mike Tyson eat your kids for lunch. I'm like Willie Pep, I could win a round without throwing a punch. Lennox Lewis had a glass jaw. If my grandmother hit him on the chin, he probably hit the floor. Roberto Duran, all-time greatest lightweight. Prince Nassim was whack, all the hype was fake. Leon Spinks was the ultimate slacker. Sugar Ray Leonard was great, but he should have lost to Hagler. The 70s had the best heavyweights. From Ali Frazier to George Foreman, there was so many greats. Bob Foster hit way too hard. He would have put Antonio Tarver and Roy Jones in the graveyard. Some of y'all might disagree, but Larry Holmes might have been the best, even better than Ali. Greatest Puerto Rican fighter, Carlos Ortiz. Runner-up Wilfredo Gomez in the early 80s. Worst Puerto Rican fighter is John Ruiz. Winky Wright beat Shane Mosley 2 times with ease. Burnett Whitaker was robbed so many different occasions. Mike McCallum represented hard for the Jamaicans. Constitution made Zab do the funky chicken. Years later, Ricky Hatton had Constitution quitting. I ran Barkley, rep the BX. Christy Martin was the first popular fighter of the opposite sex. Galata punched Riddick Bowe repeatedly in the dick. Then when he fought Mike Tyson, he bitched out and quit. James Toney was a skilled technician. Jack Johnson beat white boys and fucked their women. Floyd Patterson got knocked out by Sonny Liston. Paulie Ayala always seemed to get the kick decision. Arturo Gatti take the best ass whipping. Jim Lampley and the rest of the HBO cheerleaders do the most ass kissing. They jerked Bernard Hopkins, ruined his 10-year reign. They stole his belts from him, gave him to Jermaine. Vasily Giroff nearly murdered Joe Macy. Joe Calzaghe annihilated Jeff Lacey. John Mugabe's nickname was the Beast. Corrales Castillo, the first fight was a masterpiece. Julian Jackson crushed Terry Norris. Mayorga knocked out Forrest. Hearns Hagler taught us what a war is. Trying to find the next heavyweight great. They thought it was Isaiah Bucci, but he went to jail for rape. Bob Abrams a weasel and Don King's evil. Floyd Mayweather's good, but he need to fight better people. We watched Oscar De La Hoya get rich. He nearly outpointed Felix Trinidad, but then he ran like a bitch. Barrera Morales, Julio Cesar Chavez. Mexican fighters was fucking up mad heads, and we never got to see the best. Salvador Sanchez, Ricardo Lopez retired undefeated. Larry Holmes beat Michael Spinks, but he got shitted. Manny Pacquiao speed is heated, believe it, you eat it. Oliver McCall smoked crack and had a nervous breakdown. Riddick Bowe knocked out Holyfield in the 8th round. Jake LaMotta had the best chin. When Mike Tyson beat Spinks, was his best win. They stopped 15-round fights after Duck Who Kim. The biggest disappointment was probably gold medalist Mark Breland. Emil Griffith was accused of hanging out with queers. Tony Ayala went to jail for 16 years. Michael Grant fought pitifully. Vito Antuofermo was a champ from Italy. Chris Bird beat Vitaly. Fernando Vargas' best win was Ike Corte, who fought the best competition, Juan Laporte. Levander Johnson killed in the ring, R.I.P. Tommy Morrison was diagnosed with HIV. First round, Ernie Shavers finished Kenny Norton. Michael Dokes and Tony Tucker was both Coke Snorton.